Hello everybody, Thomas Zachary here. This is a KAAMP. This week we have another very talented Knoxville-based artist today. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Dylan, and I guess I don't do it. I listen to some of your podcasts. And,
Well, that's not necessary to sit here and talk, but I appreciate it.
well, yeah, I was gonna feel for it, and I guess I'm different. I guess you don't have a lot of musician.
Not yet,
types,
not yet. But they're valid, and I'm getting there. So it's just been a lot of visual artists so far, but musicians, brewers, scientists, like the whole gamut. Like it's all fair game. So it's just who I've had access to so far is really the thing.
It's just people you've come across.
People I've known, people that have asked to be on the show, people that I know through professional avenues. So it really, runs the gamut.
We had met in Sonox Studio, right?
Yeah, so backstory, you and I were coworkers at one period of time for a short period of time, but we were coworkers at Sono Studios. You were doing mixing and mastering stuff, right? And I was working on the Sing and Spell project, doing some animation stuff. And then I left to be employed by Local Motors, and then you did what?
Oh, I'm trying to think. After Sonox, so I was still in school when I was at Sonox Studio. I was at UT, so I did like a summer internship program there.
Yeah.
And then I left there while I was still in school, and I went to Our Relation Studios. Have you heard
No,
of
I don't know
place?
anything about that.
So they do a lot of... They're sort of a weird company. They do a lot of stuff. So they record people, bands and stuff, which, is kind of what attracted me there. But they also do a lot of music publishing.
Okay. So both sides of that.
Yeah, music publishing. And this guy did a lot of stuff, I think, for like IMAX theaters. So we would go out in like Market Square with a bunch of microphones and get like 360, I'd say 5 to 10 microphones per project. And then he would go in the studio and like master it for like IMAX theaters where they have all the
That's pretty
speakers
cool.
all day. Yeah, it was cool. But weird story how I got there to I work a lot at open chord now.
Yeah.
And I think you would come in there.
I've seen you there a few times, yeah.
Yeah, what show did you come to?
I've been to a couple ciphers there, I think. I've been to a couple Magnolia Motel shows back when they were still a band. I saw Seven Horse there when they were touring, and a couple other local bands and stuff here and there. And I've seen you there a time or two. Well,
I guess I call that like my home base now, because that really started at Our Relation Studios. Do you know who Andy Wood is?
Yeah, I know Andy Wood.
So
know of Andy Wood.
He came in there to, I guess, pick up a royalty check. We were talking, and
so they published some of his music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or they used some of his for. I think they do a lot of work with Discovery Channel and just some TV shows, so they get it synced on there.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I do a lot of that now personally, and that's sort of where I got into that, just learning how to do it and sort of the process to get your music synchronized stuff.
Sorry to interrupt, but back to that. I think the last show I saw you at was at Jackson Terminal for Skank Banger.
Okay.
I think that's the last place I saw you out and about in public doing your thing.
And that was a really cool show. I think we've done 2 or 3 down there.
Yeah.
That is so fun because we just have a big system and I have lots of lights to play with. I'll usually do lighting on that show or sound if I have to, but that's just crazy fun having all of that to play with.
You can't not have fun if a band like that's in the house.
Oh, Skank Banger is one of my favorite.
You have to have a good time if they're on the stage. I don't know how you could.
Well, you scared me. They asked me recently to be their light guy for all their shows. I know they've got a lot at Scruffy, and they're doing one at the Shed, which is going to be really fun.
Have you worked there yet? Have you done any gigs there?
I've never been to the Shed, no. But they're doing that, and last year they did like a Well, I guess in 2019.
Yeah, last year was like a void.
And it was like a rock cruise they did in Mexico. And
no shit.
Yeah, a bunch of bands on there. So I'm kind of hoping they do that again.
That would be really
go on a
cool.
rock cruise.
Yeah, for real.
But,
a cruise in general would be cool.
But I do a lot of lights and sound, but I think lights are kind of going down where I want to go in the future because it's just so much more immediate and it's maybe I've just done sound too long and I'm jaded on it because I suck at lights comparative to sound.
But you're ready to be done with sound?
No, I'll always do sound, but lights are just they're more fun.
Well, there you go.
They're more fun.
That's all the justification you need, huh?
Oh, yeah. So Skankbanger, you came to the Jackson show. Have you been to any others besides that one?
Did they play, like, the Concourse or anything? I feel like I've seen another show of theirs somewhere.
You know, I don't think they've ever played the Concourse.
I know I've seen them somewhere else, but I don't remember where it was for probably good reason.
Uh-oh. Yeah, it's always just sticky afterwards. And...
Sticky's a really good adjective for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll look on my patch bay or something after the show, and someone's inevitably spilled
a beer or set a drink on it.
But
somehow.
The shows, I don't have a picture to show you, but I always dress up like a rock star in that. I have my bandana on, my leather jacket.
Yeah, you were looking awfully period when I saw you that night. Yeah, you fit in just fine. You could have been on stage and nobody would have known.
The last couple I've done, I've got an empty bottle of Jack Daniels and I put sweet tea in it because
perfect.
I don't want to actually
go
off the deep end. But I'm wobbling around the venue with my Jack Daniels bottle, and one show, people on the barricade like, like holding their hands out, wanting some, and I'm just like whatever, and I just go down the line and start pouring this sweet tea.
And they're all sorely disappointed.
I don't even know if they know. They were already half gone at that point. But
or they could have been, pleasantly surprised by the shot of sweet tea they ended up with.
I mean, it might have been better. They was like, oh, that's
refreshing.
What do they put in there?
A mystery. But yeah, man, that's good. So, where did you first pick up doing lights? Like, how did you fall into that, so to speak?
Well, when I was a kid, I loved video games, and I used to play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Did you ever play that one?
Yeah, I've had hundreds of hours on that game.
So, did you ever play with the lighting system on there?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it was really cool. They had a fireworks system, and with one of the patches for like the water park or something, they introduced a lighting system. And you could basically just place down little lights and load your audio file in, and you can make it like on a timeline, and you can sync the lights.
Shit.
And so
I don't know how I missed that. I just made roller coasters that took 30 years to complete.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've spent well over 1,000 hours on that game,
I've played
which
it
is terrible.
Too much.
But I just got into lighting with that, really. I started making little concerts when I was a kid.
That's a really roundabout way, a very niche, obscure way to fall into that hobby.
Yeah, and, well, I guess I really got more into it with sound, because at home I had always recorded music. I had got, like, FL Studios when I was a kid, and just learning how to put instruments in and record some simple songs and stuff. And then just slowly working through the studios, I got into live sound, which has mostly been through Open Chord. I've done some work with other people recently, too. I did the Knoxville Symphony like a month ago in the amphitheater, and that was really cool.
Yeah, how was that?
It wasn't as hard as it might seem. Because... Well, you're not having to monitor any of it back to them, really.
Right,
so
because it's an amphitheater.
Yeah, there's not much, you're just kind of pushing the sound a little bit. So I was kind of stressed out about it, but it worked out well. And really the only hard shows are the ones where there's like a small stage, say like Open Chord, and there's like 10 players on the stage, and they each have 3 instruments each, and you just have a bunch of outputs. And there's a bunch of drums, like they'll have like bongos. There's this band, Twathadea. They have like 10 bongos up front, and then they'll have a bagpipe, and then they'll have a didgeridoo. And,
man, I gotta hear this group.
Oh, they're crazy cool. It's like a I would describe it as a Celtic pirate psychedelic rock group.
I'm in. Sold.
Oh, they're incredible.
Awesome.
They're incredible.
I'm sold.
And what's cool about them, they're all family too. So, it's
so they know each other real well and how they like to play and everything. So they're super tight, right?
They're tight and they just get along. And I don't know. I think you can feel that on stage sometimes.
Yeah, you definitely can. If it's strong enough, you can just look and know that these people know what's going on between each other up there.
If there's a lot of turmoil in the band, it tends to bleed out, I feel like.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
But no, it's fun. So when you were going back to Sonox Studio, I just did a lot of mixes for the karaoke tunes they did.
Yeah.
So what was the sing and play thing?
The Sing and Spell was an educational program application for laptops, HD tablets, all that kind of thing. And it was to teach children 4 to 8 concepts of language. So it was kind of ironic for me helping children learn how to read in a really roundabout way, because a lot of people in my family have been educators and English teachers and all that kind of stuff. So here I am in some very distorted way helping kids learn how to read. And then my main role for that project was strictly animation. So I would get handed a topic, say this is the letter A, here are some words that you need to highlight with the A sound and the multiple sounds an A can make. And then I pretty much could just do whatever I wanted as long as it was kid friendly and, fit inside the format we wanted.
Did you ever sneak any innuendos in?
No. So Mark Radice would write the songs, and if y'all don't know who Mark Radice is, you need to look him up. He would write the songs, give us the lyrics and the audio, and then we would animate to that song for that letter. And visually, I had pretty much free reign. So I would storyboard out some stuff, show it to Todd, show it to Joe, and they'd just be like, yeah, great, go make it happen. And then I would take, 2 or 3 days to sit down and make it. But that means, like, if the assets I needed weren't already in the program, I had to draw them. Mm-hmm. So I essentially had nearly 100% creative freedom on whatever it was I needed asset-wise to generate and animate. The things I did try to do just to be sneaky was there was a stock prop in the thing. So any outdoor scene in the Sing and Spell video gallery that I did, there's the little red and white mushroom somewhere in the outdoor scene. So there weren't a whole lot of Easter eggs or whatever that I put in there, but I was like, damn it, I'm going to put this red and white mushroom in every outdoor scene in here. Where it might be way in the background somewhere, the camera might pan by it, I did a couple movie homage kind of things where I'd seen a shot in a movie that really stuck with me, and I realized that it would fit into whatever I was doing for that particular song, and I would try to do a little thing like that. But a lot of it was just really custom, bland, kind of here it is, here's the song, A this, A that, blah, blah, blah. They were entertaining, but it wasn't the most entertaining thing to work on. But the end products came out really nice.
So are those online anywhere?
Yeah, they're still in the Google Play Store with the app.
Okay, so it's
you got to buy the app to get all this stuff.
Man, they got us.
I know that's the hook, but it was a fun project. I got to animate and do some really funny stuff, like the song Sam Hatmaker did, "Raining Raccoons." Mm-hmm. That's for the letter R, and she sings a song about how the weather is absolute turds and it's raining raccoons. So I got to animate just this scene inside and outside of a bedroom of just a kid being mopey in their room, just looking out the window, and raccoons are just falling from the sky. And then there's another scene where the person's walking outside under the umbrella and just raccoons with parachutes and everything just raining, falling, endlessly falling from the sky. So that one was good, probably my favorite. But it was more of a challenge to draw the things and to animate them for me, because I had the creative freedom to make whatever I needed to do. So I did. And drawing a bunch of raccoon sprites that fell from the sky was really cool. So that was a challenge. And I had, a pen and a tablet and a stout computer in front of me. So I definitely pushed the limits of that program with what I animated and how detailed they were and stuff like that. Or at least I like to think I tried.
So what program was it?
The animation program itself was Crazy Talk Animator Pro 2, I think. And then I drew everything for all the assets I generated in Photoshop.
Okay. I've always been fascinated by animation, but
gotta have one to have the other.
I'll like look up a couple videos on it, and then I feel like when I do like lighting or recording stuff, it's like I know everything so quickly. Yeah. I get frustrated with it because it's such a hard. It's like I'll spend 5 minutes, looking for a button on how to do something.
Yeah, where's that one thing I need to do this other one thing?
Yeah, and it frustrates me because it's like I don't want to be a beginner in it, but I am. You know what I mean? Like
that frustration is the thing that pushes a lot of people to learn. It pushes me to learn. Learning that Crazy Talk program was a pretty steep learning curve, but once I got the hang of it, it was okay. I feel like that's a lot of editing and animating programs in general, whether it be music or video or audio. Like, there's a lot of buttons. This graphic interface is really complicated. What the hell do I do with all these things?
Well, I kind of put it, I guess, in perspective. I've been playing guitar a ton of years.
Yeah.
But, I'm fairly good at it, but I've got a left-handed guitar the other day, or I didn't buy one, it was in a store, and I picked it up just trying to do a simple chord. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I spent like 2 minutes trying to just get my finger right on it, and then, it's just so bad. It's kind of humbling.
It's like, backwards to the stuff you normally do,
oh,
right?
yeah. It's so humbling.
Because you normally play a normal guitar, not a left-handed guitar, right?
But
so, yeah, it's... Let me swap things 180 degrees and see if my brain can compensate.
Oh, yeah.
It's like watching people ride that bicycle that steers the opposite way.
Oh, that would be fun.
Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, man, I got to show you before we get out of here.
Oh, that's going to be crazy.
Someone has been such a nice person out there to create a bicycle that when you turn left, it goes right. And watching somebody try to ride that for the first time is a lot like watching yourself try to play a left-handed guitar.
Well, what's even crazier to think about is, like, with that left-handed guitar, it's like it brings you back. It's like, holy crap! I was at this point at one time with like regular guitar. It's
so you appreciate the effort and the practice and the experience gain, and it gives you real perspective about where you started versus where you are, and that's really important.
Oh yeah,
you can ground yourself like that real quick.
I just think it's so cool that everyone spends a bunch of time in like a few skills and they get good at it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because it's like a human just can't do that with everything, and so it's just crazy to look at the small little things that people do that turn out cool.
Yeah, like, spent thousands of hours doing this one thing so I can make this happen. And that one thing that happens is amazing.
Yeah, and they even make it look so simple, but it's like I was watching a YouTube video the other day of this guy working out like a cotton candy machine and just sculpting cotton candy.
Yeah, I saw a fellow made like a unicorn or something. Like made the mane and then like sculpted the face. I don't have the patience to learn how to do this. The biggest thing that keeps me from enjoying new hobbies is the fact that I know how long it would take me to get to a point where I could enjoy doing this on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Like, there are musical instruments I would love to learn how to play. There are computer programs I would love to learn how to use. There's this and that, like... I would love to learn how to snowboard, but like, I don't have 300 hours or 10,000 hours to become moderately proficient at another thing because I'm already so deep into all the things I already do. I'm just like, rubbing my forehead like I don't need to take on another hobby.
It kind of makes me sad. It's like, I look at all these things that I want to do. It's like, I really can't if I want to,
Right. If I don't have time. I don't have time. If I didn't have X, Y, Z, other hobbies and day jobs, I could maybe do that. But, so right now I have like 5 things that I'm just like, I'm really in on these 5 things and I'm learning these 1 or 2 other things and that's all the time and energy I've got.
Nice.
And it's taken me a long time to learn that. Some people never learn it and bless them for it because they keep picking up new skills, but the ones I'm learning I try to rotate out every now and again.
Let's stick with it a little bit and delve into it.
Well, if I practice something enough, I can figure out how to implement in my workflow with my other creative pursuits. So I can kind of like take that one out of the learning box and put it and fold it into the variety of my other things, and then try to put something else in that box of the things I'm learning. So like the last few months, actually since January, I've practiced pinstriping, like automotive pinstriping, and some of my artwork that I've been doing the last year and a half, 2 years, has looked like that, but it's a totally different medium. So like if I can do this with that, maybe I can pick up this thing and these brushes and this medium and be at least moderately okay to start with, and then see where I go from there. So a lot of my artwork with acrylics looks like pinstriping with the way I do my brush strokes and arrangements and stuff. So I was like, if I can do this with an acrylic paint, I should probably shut up and put up and like try some enamel paint with some actual pinstriping brushes and see if I can do this. And I've done it well enough not to piss myself off enough to quit. So I think I'm doing okay.
It's cool how just something on the outside influences you. Like, last week we did like a EDM kind of DJ show. And I don't make a ton of EDM music, but just the past week I've been making it because, it was just, I got into the flow of it, and, I have a ton of software and equipment I've just accumulated over the years at my house. So I can make that stuff. And it's like...
You just look around like, I have all the tools.
Yeah. And, next week I'll watch like a random documentary on orchestral music or something. Then I'll write a bunch of orchestral music that week.
I get it.
But it's also my job in a lot of ways too. So
to be at least knowledgeable about a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Because you never know who's going to throw what at you when you're sitting there behind the table, right?
Well, yeah, a large portion of my job or income is just creating music stuff. I started that, I'd say like 6 years ago, and a lot of it's really simple. It's not like actual music, but what I would do, I have some nice keyboards and stuff, so I would record like a harp. And I've been playing keyboards since I remember walking, I've always had a keyboard there, like playing it.
Literally always.
So I can create chords just off the top of my head all day long. So I would get like a nice harp patch. I put down some chords, play a little bit, put some reverb on it, and then hey, I made an album in an hour or two. So I started just doing that hardcore about 5 or 6 years ago, and at this point I think I have 12-ish thousand songs.
12-ish thousand.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I hardcore make
that's
a lot.
It's
a lot of songs.
Some people would say that's prolific.
Yes.
Yeah, some people would say that's prolific.
And, they're not crazy well-crafted songs, but what I do, thankfully working at the music publishing place, kind of taught me how to get it out there, how to get paid for it and stuff. So really what it was, there for a while I was working at a call center, and I hated it so much. And so I would come home and do nothing. I would call center, come home, work.
Like eat, sleep, go to bed.
Record 50 to 100 songs a night. Until it started paying, so I didn't have to work there. And, it took a long time, and like 7,000 songs.
Yeah.
But it finally got there.
That's a fun way to quantify things. I made 7,000 songs before I could quit this shitty job.
I mean, yeah, that's what it was. And then, I started getting more sound work and light work and stuff. And so then after a while I got bored of making songs all the time. I make like a tenth of what I used to make, and they're like higher quality now. I spend more time on each song, which inevitably actually pays you less because
the way the time works out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the harp, it's like on Spotify or Google Play or something, it's hard for someone to randomly search a band name for your music, but I always made it so the keyword searches. So if you search harp music, I'm like the second or third artist that'll come up. And so then, it gets plays from that, and then I can make thousands of songs. And I use that. I make all kinds, like orchestral, EDM, rock, but the meditation, I make a lot of meditation music, like kind of synthy pad stuff, and harp music, just kind of in that genre, simple stuff. And that's good because people naturally find it.
They really want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Like if they've got downtime and doesn't want quiet, then that's the kind of stuff you turn on.
And like the Google Play and Alexa and stuff, it's been good on that because I can look at the analytics and it's a ton coming in through those stores. I guess people just are in the bathtub or something. And
like, hey, play this.
Harp music.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, exactly.
Which is nice. Cause,
I mean, I'll yell at mine all the time, play funk, and and then I'll start cooking dinner. Like, it happens.
Yeah. Just stuff like that has blown up on there, but then my actual music that, you spend like 10 hours on a song, gets like 30 views, you're like, and then you make this random harp song in 2 minutes and it gets like 1 million.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on.
Gee, thanks, guys.
Well, I guess that's the name of the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's the things you expect to like take off are just like sitting there. Sometimes you're like, man, like I really tried with that.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But I really just had to start treating it like a business to get out of work.
Yeah.
Honestly, and it took a few years, but then it worked, and it worked out well because then I had a lot of free time. So now I do sound, which I could work 60, 70 hours a weekend, and it feels like 4 at my other job.
Because you enjoy it.
I love it, yeah.
And you get to be out and about, different places, see people, see faces, which is
so
kind
fun.
of double-edged sword these days.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions I like to ask people about who they are and what they do is, how is being a creative person in Knoxville right now? Because that encompasses what you do in the greater scheme of society that we participate in.
Well, let's see. I have a lot more work than I did before because of COVID, I think. I think a lot of people went out of the industry maybe, or it's harder to get people in.
Mm-hmm.
But just calls for gigs really have been coming in more and more. But everything's kind of in turmoil right now. I also do booking for Open Chord, booking bands in and whatnot, and it's just complete turmoil right now.
Oh, I can only imagine how disastrous it is to have conversations with agents and managers. And all
it's
that,
a headache right now.
Yeah.
And I love everything I do, but the booking, it's not my favorite thing, and not to say I don't hate it. It's all fun. It's all within
it's in the umbrella.
But the other guy left that was doing it at Open Chord. He had to move to Texas, and so they didn't have anyone to book. So it's like, okay, I'll book. And that's been a whole journey in itself. But
did you have any experience with that sort of part of the operation before then?
Well, I had always been friends with the people at the venues that I work with that book, and they would usually include me on the emails of like setting up. So I got to look at a lot of the contracts and stuff. So I had some idea.
So you weren't totally unfamiliar with how these conversations go?
No, yeah, I had a good background of kind of how it worked, but then when you're thrust into it, it's really different, and I'm not the most organized person on earth. And with booking, I mean, you just get 50 texts a day about booking, and you'll get 100 emails a day about booking, and it's overwhelming.
This, that, the writer says, blah, blah, blah.
It's a little overwhelming at first. And,
I can imagine.
I'm fairly introverted, and, doing sound and stuff, it's like you kind of keep to yourself a little bit. I mean...
But you're also in the room with a couple hundred other people at the same time, like...
Yeah, I've always been awkward around people, but that's also kind of why I like sound and stuff too, because it's like, and this is terrible, but it's like if I really want to avoid a conversation or something, I can always be like, oh, I've got this sound thing to go do, so and no one questions it.
Something needs my attention, and you just walk off.
But the whole nature of booking and a lot of what I've been doing recently too is just like stage management, like, hey, this person says they need a stage for this event, and it's coordinating it, getting staff, and finding everything. And that's a little more, you have to talk directly to people, which is a little but yeah, it's
and you have to relay a lot of technical information too. Like,
yeah,
it's not just like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other. It's like, no, it needs to be this, that, X, Y, Z, and some of those.
Yeah, so that's been a little. It's not necessarily been hard, but I really don't like to make people mad, and I don't want to make someone confrontational, but. If a band messages me 20 times about wanting to play a show, I try to skim around it a little bit.
Look, guys.
But you have to be a little mean sometimes, and it kind of sucks. But
maybe not mean, but direct.
Yeah, which I take as mean. That's just how it's hard.
People interpret that differently, but I usually like to tell people I'm shooting it straight with them, so don't think I'm being a dick. But like, this is how it is. And that's the deal. And if you don't like it, then I'm sorry. If you're willing to compromise, then great. But that's that.
And even with business, I'm just so I'm too passive, and it's a flaw. And or I don't know. One day I want to be jaded. In like 10 years, I'm just going to be this jaded booker. Sound. I'm just like, no, get out of here.
Fuck this shit. I'm not here for it. Get out. Don't bring that shit to my door. Yeah, no. You can totally be that guy.
Well, I've got that way a little bit. You're kind of forced to, and a lot like. The more I delve down into the production world of doing bigger shows and having more staff to do shows with, or bigger events and stuff, it does have to be a point of like, and I don't think you even think about it, but you just have to be like, no, that won't work. And it is very stern, and it kind of...
Yeah, I got a lot of that working at the Coliseum and the Auditorium. Like, I spent 2.5 years working kind of for the city in that venue or pair of venues. And, people that rent the space, do whatever, putting on the show, tour managers come at you and they say all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. All kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if they need something, they say all kinds of stuff. and there's two answers you can give them. It's either, I'll get on that right now, or listen, no, and that's it.
And that's what I'm bad at. I won't please people too much.
Well, I like saying no, and here's why. But then the here's why breeds more questions.
Yeah.
So you just leave it at no and walk off. One of the event managers there, that was one of the things he told me. It's like, you don't have to justify it. Just tell them no. Yeah. He's like, look, man, just no. It can't work. So no. And then just like grab your radio and be like, oh yeah, I'll be right there.
That's been a really hard thing for me to do, and I've got better at it. But man, it's just
dance moms are the worst.
No, dance moms.
Dance moms.
Have you watched that show?
No, but I'm not talking about just sports parents in general are the worst.
There's a show.
Oh,
Dance Moms.
I know. It is
My
even worse
than
the real life. Oh,
it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
it's kind of hilarious. I kind of enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I don't know. It's kind of it. In a weird way, I enjoy it.
I had a lady that was like a tour manager or something for this cheer competition. Blah blah blah. She's like, "Can we move the judges' staging and stair set and tables 7.5 inches to the left?" Like I shit you not, dude. I watched her grab a tape measure and go over and like measure this over here and measure that over there, and came to me. It's like, this is so and so inches off center. Can we move that? Mm-hmm. I looked at her. I stared a hole through the back of her head, and I was just like, what do I tell this lady?
I feel like that's a weird management style.
What do I tell this lady? So I told her no, and I didn't tell her why. But if I had told her why, it would have involved me getting the forklift and pushing things. I was like, no, it's just not going to work. You're going to have to deal with it. So it was what it was. But I think the reason she wanted it moved is because it was like 4 inches off center to the dance floor. Mm-hmm. Which I get. You want it to be center to the dance floor so all the judges have a good view. But for real, 4 inches. And you're 20 feet away. Mm-hmm. It's not that big of a deal.
Well, I appreciate that. I like her perfection on it, but this is a thing you plan way before and are there to make sure when it's getting set up that,
It was as close to the job order later as I could possibly get it. Like, physically, literally, it was as good as I could get it because I was in charge of setting up the show. So I told her, no, I'm not getting the forklift out in the back of my head, and just left it at that and walked away.
If she wanted it perfect, she should have been there while you were on the forklift. Mm-hmm. And been like, just a
little more, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's always been a weird management style I see in people is they're really picky about that stuff.
But they're not there on the front end.
Yeah, I feel like the best managers just help people
figure out what they want sometimes.
Figure out what they want, a way to do it, and kind of back off a little bit in a lot of ways.
Well, to be fair, that was the only critique they had of the venue space and the assets they were using. So
nice.
I can't, like, everything but that met their expectations. And if 4 inches is what pisses somebody off, then ladies, I'm sorry. But yeah, that was the only issue I had with that show, and it was a half house show in the Coliseum. It was like a youth cheer squad thing. It was already set up. There's nothing I was going to do to fix that.
Is that the same area? I know you did the Zamboni.
Yeah, so that was set up on the ice. And what happened was there were like inch thick wood and fiberglass panels that would be set on the ice. And then the half house curtain would come down. So you'd take the glass off the hockey arena and then take out some of the walls for access onto the floor, cover the floor with those panels, and then the half house curtain would come down. So that's your half house show, that's your whole venue area.
So did they have like concerts in there?
Or? Yeah. So we would take, like I said, all the glass out, the team benches out, the penalty box, take all that out and just leave those open, like gaps in the wall of the hockey rink. Mm-hmm. And then that would be ingress and egress for patrons.
So is there another room in that building for concerts?
Yeah, the auditorium. I'm talking about specifically the Coliseum right now. Okay,
because when you said that, I had been to like a Knoxville Symphony thing in that room.
In the auditorium,
And I was thinking back, like, was that the Coliseum? And they just like fixed it up?
Yeah, KSO always performed in the auditorium side of the building. And God bless, I worked probably 40 of their shows in my almost 3 years working there. Like a lot. Every one of their shows, I think I watched or worked every one of them. But they were easy setup, easy breakdown, because they only had the riser set up and flags and whatnot. The Christmas show of theirs was always the fanciest because you got flowers and trees and whatever, all the decorations and stuff. But the auditorium always had good stuff going on from a back of house perspective. I enjoyed those gigs more than I enjoyed the Coliseum gigs, just because it was easier to set up and break down for them. But I feel like the events that went on in the auditorium were small enough to be, there's a way to handle events that happen in like a 2,000 person room that you can't do in a 7,500 person room.
Yeah.
So I always enjoyed working those shows more than like concerts or whatever in the Coliseum. Unless it was Disney on Ice. And then Disney on Ice is its own mess. And they run a lot of that themselves for merch and concessions and everything. So that's a little less intensive on the venue side of things because they pretty much just say, we want to rent your entire facility and we'll do everything else. Mm-hmm. So they take care of all that. All I had to do was cut ice, which is great.
Event planning is weird in that way because there have been like some events like we do some shows at Jackson Terminal.
Yeah.
Where I do a lot of work with open chords, so it's like some of those shows it's like we're doing everything, ticketing, hiring, security. I've always kind of headed up the production stuff, but also some of the booking stuff with that also. And then some events, a promoter will come and be like, hey, can we rent the room and do this? And it's always weird working with like a new promoter, kind of finding your role in their scheme. Because, you always have your predisposition.
It's like, this is what I normally do here.
But, they're there to fill a certain role. And like some are just crazy about kind of what you were saying with the stage being 4 inches off.
Yeah.
Crazy about that. And some are just really cool about anything
whatever.
You do. And maybe I shouldn't have done this, but last week I had sent when I was booking with these guys, sent them a stage plot of sort of our lighting rig. And the day of, they were running late, and I kind of wanted to try something new with lights. So I made like this V shape.
I saw you talking about that. Yeah.
I didn't know if they would like it. What if they got really mad at me? I was like, I'm just going to do it. And if they say it's like, sorry, it's almost showtime, you know?
We don't have enough time to fix it. Doors open in 20 minutes.
Thankfully, I mean, they were cool with it. Like, this is really cool. So,
there you go.
You know, it worked out. And should I have done that? I don't know. But
did anybody get upset? No.
They liked it, but, you know, it's like, what if they would have got upset in that? You know, some people would have.
Yeah, definitely some people would have.
But
without a doubt.
I like working with the people that kind of let that
give
happen, that are like,
freedom.
oh, that's cool, or, you know, whatever. They, you know.
There is a certain comfort to being able to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, you know, when you work with some folks. And, you know, in my line of work now, there's a pretty open discussion about whatever we're doing between, you know, my higher-ups and the installers. So the designer, the guy, well, so I work for AZ Rags. We're a print and installation full-service print company. You need signage, you need banners, you need vehicle wraps, whatever. We'll install it, we'll print it, everything. Whatever, doesn't matter, we'll do it. So there are situations where we get customers' cars that we have some creative freedom with, and in general, the creative freedom that we have just by doing what we do. You know, there's pretty open discourse between me and the designer and the printer and everything. You know, hey, can we get one of these? Can we do this? Can we get a piece of this like that? And, you know, sometimes things end up looking better in person than they do on a sheet of paper.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? When they don't, we just go, this sucks, and rip it off. Do it again.
Would you rather have total creative autonomy, or would you rather sort of have a direction?
So it depends on the project and the client, and usually the project and the client are pretty closely tied together as far as their expectations. But we have some clients that hand us a vehicle and say, these are the things we need, everything else is up to you. Mm-hmm. And I really like working with people like that. For example, we're working on a car for a customer right now. The car is a BMW 640i GT. So it's basically a 6 Series sedan with the big tall roof. And it's a pearl white, and we're putting a transparent wrap on it that goes from bright pink to like a Merlot-ish purple. So in the front, it's really bright pink, and in the back, it looks like a dark wine, red wine kind of color. But on the front, there are transparent flames on this transparent wrap, and I was given the duty of drawing all the flames that were used in this design, and then my boss, who is one of our graphic designers, you know, stitched it all together into one flame job. So that's one style of the creative freedom that I was given for this particular job. And then another client of ours is a high-end luxury sports car dealer that shall remain nameless, and I'm pretty sure they know who they are when I say that. But they sent us a new electric sports car to wrap for the USA Cycling cyclist race that happens in town every year. And they said it needs to be reflective, it needs to be these 3 colors, and it's got to have our logo and the USA Cycling logo on it, and everything else was pretty much up to us. So we decided to do a red and blue on top of white reflective vinyl design with all the appropriate logos that they said. And we had total creative freedom over that, other than those few things. So we ended up making a really neat look that was easy for us and appropriate and met their desires. So it turned out really cool. The car was the new Porsche Taycan, and it was the pace car for the USA Cycling Championship race that was in town.
That's
the middle
cool.
of June. Yeah, so this car rode all the routes that all the races were on, about half a mile ahead of all the cyclists. And you know, if you watched any of the race on TV or out and about in the streets, you saw the car. So it was pretty neat. A lot of eyeballs were on that project.
So, dumb question. You said it was a wrap, right?
Mm-hmm. Vinyl, yeah.
So that, like, that's not like paint job. It peels off.
Yeah,
right?
it peels off.
Okay.
A little bit of heat is your friend, but, you know, in general, you can just grab a corner and go like this, and it comes right off.
do some people wrap their car a lot? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like a month? Like, would someone come in like
Every
once
month?
a month and be like, I want this wrap?
That's a lot. Once a year, twice a year is a lot. But we definitely have clients that come in once a year and be like, hey, can you do this?
Like, what would a wrapping cost? Like, I want my truck out there wrapped. Like,
let's see. So you got a full size Chevy, what, 2500, 8-foot bed, like full bed, single cab. That would, I hate. We'll talk that number off the thing, but it's 4 digits.
Okay.
But that can go up, that can go down, depending on what material, what color, what finish. So there's a lot of leeway there.
Is there like, I mean, I guess it protects too, rather than just looks cool,
does,
right?
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. Like there are films out there that are made specifically for protecting your vehicle, and they're called paint protection films, and they're like twice, maybe 2.5 times thicker than your normal like color change vinyl. Your normal color change vinyl is going to be like less than a millimeter thick, but it does protect against small abrasive happenings that your car would see on a daily basis.
So I know you're like really artistic. Is there like things you have to do with that's pretty artistic? Like you have to heat it a certain way?
Yeah, each different. So there are a couple of different brands that have films out there for this purpose, and they all have their own unique ways they like to be applied or used, or this or that. We primarily use 3M products and other brands when the occasion calls for it, but every one of them works different. All the adhesives are different. The adhesives, some of them don't like being stretched, some of them do. Like there's a lot of finesse, and one of the things that I've learned a lot, in October it'll be my 3rd anniversary with the company and in the industry, so there are a lot of like minute finesse things that I've learned about different materials within one brand and each different brand that are their own unique stuff. So if my boss comes to me and says, hey, we're going to do this color in this finish and it's a 3M 1080 material, I automatically know there's a different a different order of operations for my workflow that I have to undertake. So I know that this particular material needs heat here, or in this instance, instead of after that, or I need to cut it this way and tuck it like that, or I need to do this for it to be a nice clean edge. There's some finesse things with different materials that I need to be aware of, because none of them you can work like, insert name here. Like none of them are the same, and you can't work any of them the same.
It's so cool that you can become like a master of anything. Like, even something like just learning how to cut this or how to heat it properly.
There's so much.
It's such a little delicate thing.
There's so much to learn. There's so much to know. It's ridiculous. And, it's a lot like any other hobby or any other thing. Like, luckily, I enjoy this on top of it being my day job, so I don't wake up anymore and hate going to work. Like, I legitimately enjoy the style and tasks that I'm presented with. But there's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't think of, and there's still a lot of things that I learn every day about different materials, different workflows, techniques. Like, there is there's usually one good way to do about everything. But beyond that, like, the reins are off. If you can figure out how to do whatever it is and get the same result, go for it. Like, I've done things to the same result 5 different ways. As long as the end result meets the material specifications, because there are some things some materials just can't do. Like, some materials are really stiff. They don't like to bend a certain way or go around a certain style of edge or something like that. Some materials are more finicky about how you can apply them than others. Like, some brands are really stiff, so you end up putting more seams on a panel, or some brands are really malleable and you can do some really extreme curves with them, depending on the material, depending on the manufacturer, this and that. But as long as the end result meets the specifications for the material, then you're good to go. Like, it's going to be a well-applied material that meets its specifications for installation and longevity, because you installed it within the window of parameters that it needs to be installed inside of. Like, things have a certain stretch value, and if you overstretch them, that spot's likely to fail. So, you have to take into account how far things stretch when you're doing this and that. So
what company is this? It's Knoxville based,
my employer,
right?
yeah, AZ Rags. Installation and Print Services is the full name. They're like 10 minutes away just off Middlebrook Pike.
Okay, I'm so out of the car world. Even that, or like, even with my truck, it's like, I don't know what's wrong. I'm so out of the car world. But it's really cool that, like, some people are just really fascinated and get wraps, like, every couple months or once a year or something.
Yeah,
it's
once a year is pretty normal. Fleet operations for businesses, industry vehicles, plumbing vans, construction trucks, stuff like that. We've got some pretty good steady clients for those, and some of these companies we've done a full rebrand for because we have the capability with our design staff to say, hey, you want a new look for your trucks, for your business cards, for your websites, whatever. We either know people or can do it for you. So we've been able to do a lot for a lot of local companies that make them look good and stand out in the crowd, like Taylor Plumbing, and they've got a whole fleet of vehicles. They do residential and construction plumbing, and all their vehicles we've wrapped.
Is it a white vehicle?
Yeah, they're usually white, and they have a big diagonal graphic across them. It says Taylor Plumbing with some pipe and some steel pipes in the background, big red element with a black element across the bottom.
I've seen some of your work there.
Yeah, if you've ever seen any of the Harper dealership vans or their parts cars, we've done a lot of stuff for those, like a lot of their company vehicles. We do a lot of company vehicles for, let's see, who else have we done? We're well networked with dealerships around town, so we've done all kinds of stuff for all kinds of people. Christman, the construction company, if you've ever seen any of their half copper trucks running around, we've done all of their trucks so far. Well, all of that they've brought us, there's more to do. There's always more fleet vehicles to do, but they're if you see one out and about, they've got door logos, and like the truck bed has like a really steep curve, and it's a matte copper metallic on the truck bed itself, and it looks really good. I like it a lot. It's a really pretty color. One of the cool things about my job, just being the artist creative person that I am and the car person that I've become, is that I get to play with all these pretty colors, and I get to like put them on these cars.
That's how I feel with these big stages. It's like, you're letting me play with this. You're letting me play with these giant speakers and these lights. It's like,
I know these are all really expensive. Are you sure you want me to do this? Like, yeah. It's
so fun.
I've put stuff on cars that cost 10 times what somebody paid for their house, and I've put stuff on cars that you would never think actually move under their own power. So, like, I've done both of these things.
Does that change your mentality? Are you a lot more careful?
Oh, yeah. I definitely try to treat everybody's personal property with an immense amount of respect, regardless of how quote-unquote nice it is. But there demands different levels of forethought and steady-handedness that goes, like, working on somebody's beater Honda Civic and, like, fixing their door or whatever, like, I'd paint match the door for me. All right, cool. Versus somebody's like Mercedes AMG GTR Plus. Like, you want me to work on your $400,000 car? I'll be
okay. It's always
I got you. Not that I'm not confident, but you always like it. The demands of forethought, carefulness, like all the things. The amount of respect you need to give a project like that is always at the forefront of my mind, because I've had the luxury, being employed in this company, to work on some very high-profile clients' vehicles, and these clients' vehicles are very expensive and very fast or very rare. Like, I've worked on a Rolls-Royce Dawn, and that car came out 2 years ago, debuted as a model. It's Rolls-Royce's newest convertible coupe, and that car starts at like $300K, and you can go anywhere up from that, literally anywhere.
Nice.
So there's no like, this is as much as they get. No, it's as much as you want to pay. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I had the luxury of working on that car and this particular client's other very fast, expensive cars. So, like...
That's pretty cool.
It is really cool, but at the same time, like, I have to be mindful of where I'm at, what I'm doing, who I'm doing it for. You know, it's
like with me, when it's a lot more rare, but when you get to work with like a rock star or something, it's like... You pre-plan a little more, and you kind of have to,
yeah.
You know,
and that level of I guess thoroughness is expected at that level in the game. Like you have to. That's what what is expected of you when you get those tasks.
Do you know Joe Bonamassa?
Yeah,
he was at we did sound and lights for him last year at the Woodshed Experience, which is. We're actually doing it this week. I'm leaving tomorrow it's near Nashville for 5 or 6 days.
Oh, you're going to be busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that place is really cool. It's Andy Wood event, actually, but he puts on the Woodshed, and how do I describe it? It's a 4-day event, I think, for customers, and they buy tickets to this, and you get a cabin to stay in with the ticket price.
Oh, that's nice.
And there's like 5 just total high rock stars, like high level, you know.
Some dudes that can throw down.
Yeah, like some, you know, Joe Bonamassas. He was there last year. Robin Ford's there this year. Music Is Win is there. It's like big profile guys, and they don't sell a ton of tickets. It's like a private thing, and people go and they teach like a class or two. And then they have a big concert at the end. Is fine there for the stage and all, but it's a cool event. You know, they cater all the food and everything, but it's just a really cool event. They have a cabin for everyone. It's actually on a resort. It's called Flip Fest. They do like a bunch of. Have you heard of that?
I haven't, and I'm kind of surprised that I haven't. That's what my face was. I'm surprised I haven't heard of that.
Flip Fest is, I think it's mostly for kids, but it's kind of like, and I might be totally wrong with this. This is just coming off my perception of it. It's like a pre-Olympic training type camp for kids. So it's in this big gym, which is really cool with lights because you can swing it back, and there's like 50 foot behind you, so it's almost like a projector screen.
That is really cool.
With cool lights, but it's a really fun event. I hope they keep doing it. This is the 2nd year, but...
Well, if they did it a 2nd time, they probably managed to do it a 3rd time.
I hope so.
Yeah. If you can make it past year 2, a lot of events are doing okay.
Yeah,
because doing it a 2nd time, I feel like, is really hard after you've done it once. Mm-hmm. Because then expectations come in, and like, oh God, can we make it happen a 2nd time?
I mean, like... You know, it's not a really small undertaking either. There's a lot of staff to it either. So if something like that, if something can survive, what is it like? Some random statistic about how long a business has to be.
7 years, I think, is what it is.
7?
If you can make it to your 7th year, like as with a relationship or a business, like I think 5 to 7 is really after that things become less of a headache.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean,
I've been alive for 30 years. I don't know if there ever came a time where I was just like, yeah, I got this.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know when living is supposed to get easier, but hopefully one day I find it.
I don't know. Would you want living to get easier though? Would it make you happy? You know?
Oh God, great question.
I mean, yeah, it would be maybe like right off the bat, it would be easier. Then you would chill,
it would slink into you, and the suspicions like, oh, maybe this ain't the greatest.
Would it suck though? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess that would depends on the definition of easy.
Yeah. Like say you woke up tomorrow, and you got $10,000 put in your bank account every day.
That would make so much weight come off my shoulders. Life would be easier.
Do you think it would make you happy though?
Having to worry about less would make me happier than having the money. But I know having the money would facilitate me needing to worry less. So that double-edged sword, I think, could work out in my favor.
So ultimately, you think you would be happier?
Yeah, if I like since I'm being asked and I must answer yes, I think having more resources at my disposal to do the things I need to do, participating in society would make me less stressed, which in turn would make me happier. I think that's a really roundabout way to look at it, but I think it would work for me.
Okay, now if you got say 10,000 in your bank account every single day, but you had to sit in this basement for 16 hours a day and watch TV, do you think that would make you happier?
Oh God, the stipulations. As long as I got to pick what I watched. If it was some bullshit where it's like, no, you need to watch 16 hours of like reality television, I would probably hate
Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy every day for the rest of your life.
It's like that in the
Office.
The first
episode.
No! I do like The Office, but that would be too much. I don't know. If you're throwing stipulations on it like that, them other 8 hours, I would try to sleep. Like, do I have to stay awake and watch this? I don't want the other 8 hours of my day to be like where I sleep.
Mm-hmm.
No. If I could sleep during those 16 hours, money. Let's go. Bet. I'd do it.
The beginning of this month, I took a vacation to Florida. We went to like Universal on the beach for a few days.
Yeah.
Which was so weird to me because I hadn't taken vacation in like 5 years or something.
Dude, for real. And I know that feeling, yeah.
It's not even necessarily that I wanted to. I mean, I did want to. It was fun and all, but like I really like what I do. I like working.
Yeah.
You know? It was weird for me the first day or two because it's like I'm not working. I'm not.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah, I really I love working on the things that I work in. So it was weird the first 2 days, but after the third day you chill out. Yeah. It was just like
it definitely takes a few days to relax.
Oh,
regardless of what anybody says about how good at relaxing they are. You remove yourself from your normal environment, and then there's like 24 to 48 hours where you're just like, what the hell do I do with myself?
Oh, yeah.
And then the hour, like 65, 72, you're like, all right, well, I guess this is how it is for a while, so I might as well enjoy it.
I actually, we brought these Trulies today. I rarely drink. I used to drink a ton. I had to take like a 9-month break.
Fair.
But, and maybe 4 or 5 months ago, it's like I'll have a beer at dinner or a beer or something. But I can't control myself with it really, or I couldn't. It's good now. But on vacation, we just go out and have like I didn't worry about it then. It was just so I would have like went to Harry Potter World, got all the butter beers and actual beers, and just had a ball. But I guess you need that every once in a while.
Every now and again, a good drunk will happen upon you if you're into that. I like this Truly, by the way.
I've never had one.
Well, I've had others, but the lemonade is new to me, so this is tasty.
It is pretty,
Man, substances are funny in the workplace. They are, because working in venues and in the entertainment industry in general, substances are pretty like normal.
Oh yeah,
and somewhat encouraged.
And have got me in trouble a few times, not legally or anything, but it's like working in music and all. There's beer everywhere flowing
all the time,
and just it's for me personally with anything really, it's hard to control myself, and it's taken a long time to get it under control and whatnot. But it is weird. Because I had always worked in call centers when I was younger. Well, I'm still young, so I guess it feels weird saying that.
Younger still applies.
But, you have to act in a very... maybe this is wrong. I call it fake professional. Like, when I was in call centers, it's...
You got your sales...
And I feel like everyone knows it, too. That's what's weird to me.
Sales voice.
So sales voice.
You put your sales voice on when you pick up the phone. But
everyone knows it's fake. I don't get it. I don't get why that's a standard. It's weird.
If you've ever worked in retail or front of house, you know that people put on a facade or a voice or something when they need to interact with the quote-unquote public.
Yeah.
And you work in the call center, inbound or outbound, either way, it doesn't matter, because you're going to be like, oh, hello, yes, this is blah, 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 and
but
I'm
I felt so fake with it.
Oh, yeah, every time.
It made me depressed, man.
It does
like,
that to a lot of people.
I'm really professional in the work that I do now, but it's like, it's not a fake professional. Like, I would talk to anyone in the music. Like, I'm talking to you, like, hey, man, you know, like, and I don't think people see it as unprofessional. It's just, like, honest and...
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's a weird, different beast. It's like, you know, it's like... In music, the way my hair is and everything, it's like, oh, I kind of look homeless or whatever. But, you know, it works for my industry. It's like if I go to a bank right now, it's like, hey, I want to work here. They're like... what? You know? So it's like I'm kind of stuck in my music industry now.
Man, I only recently cut my hair because it just like was lost on me how long my actual hair was. I've been growing my hair out for like 3 years, and I went to like go cut it for the first time to style it, and I was like, yeah, just go ahead and leave like 70% of that. And I was like, yeah, I'm cutting a mohawk into my hair. So the lady was cutting it. She's like, are you sure you want like all this? And like just kept like pulling my hair and pulling my hair and pulling my hair, and then till eventually she found the tips of my hair, and it was honestly like, so if y'all can't watch, but just know right now that I have my arm extended straight up above my head, and I'm like making like a pinching motion with my fingers, and there was still like 6 inches of my hair above my fingers. Longest my hair had ever been in my life. She's like, you sure you want all this to keep all this? Like, you know that if you spike this up, you won't be able to walk in a door, like drive your car, like be normal in public. And I'm just like, oh shit, you're right. So I had her cut like 70% of my hair off, and now I have like you see it, but like my hair is down to my jaw. Like this is the shortest it's been in almost 4 years.
It's just weird how some jobs you'd be a freak for, you know, coming in, and then, well, with music, it's like with this, it's like, you're cool.
You got long hair and a beard, you wear a black shirt, yeah, you're on the staff, let's go. Like,
it's strange how different societal pressure, it's like, why? Like,
the other day I did something at work that I'd never done before. I was trying to put vinyl on a roof rack of, what was it? What did they bring us? Some SUV. I don't remember what exactly it was. But I looked down and I realized like the roof rack, it was a Cadillac Escalade, a brand new one. I looked down and my beard was actually on the surface of the thing I was trying to work on. It's like, shit, this ain't gonna work. So I was just like braided it up real quick. And I was like, all right, now I can just like tuck the braid in my shirt and not have to worry about getting beard hair behind this vinyl. And I was like, yeah, man, I guess my beard is getting long. And I was just like, doo-doo-doo, braided it up, no longer a problem. And I was just like, man, why have I never done this before? And the answer is because my beard was never really long enough to braid sufficiently.
It looked like a Viking.
Dude, it did. And I braid it occasionally now because it's actually long enough to have a decent braid. You got a good beard. I like my beard.
My girlfriend would kill me if I did that. I want to, kind of.
Would she really?
I really actually would like that.
As much as she loves eggs, you can't get away with...
We don't talk about the egg. That has haunted me, dude, for a year. And now people will post like music covers or something. Someone will put something about the egg. They're like, hey, this song reminds me of an egg sandwich or something. God, and it's like infiltrating into the music. And
speaking of which, on a serious note, if you and her want to sit and have this conversation on the podcast, I would greatly appreciate that, because y'all are both creative musical people, and I would like to have that 3-person conversation.
Well, do you know Ella?
I've never met her once in my life. I've seen her out and about with you, I think.
Man, she well, for those who don't know, my girlfriend's Ella Marson. She is a guitar player. She's she's 22. And she kills me on guitar. Like, do you know how much it sucks that your girlfriend's better at you at the guitar?
I don't, but sucks. I imagine it's one of those things where somebody brings it up, like, oh, who's better at guitar? And you're just like, oh, shit.
Well, you know, it works well. We're so totally different. Like, and, like, I can hear a song. Like, you could play something right now, and I could get in with you pretty quick and just make something up with it. I'm good at that. She's really, really good at... She will sit there in front of the TV and practice a riff 3 hours straight. And it's perfect.
Every time.
So it's like her songs are just like spot on, good, like, and she'll play the same thing over and over. And the bands that I play with, I've never played the same thing twice. You know, my mind can't comprehend that. It's just like, I cannot practice the same thing over and over.
Nails and nails and nails the same thing over and over.
for music performance is, well, I think most people would like that. You know, if you go to see a band, you want to hear the same thing over.
Yeah.
If you went to go see AC/DC, you want to hear Back in Black like it's recorded, like you've heard
what do you expect to hear?
Maybe not so with every band. I guess Grateful Dead, you want to hear something new.
Yeah.
Which I'm a Grateful Dead player. She's an AC/DC player.
Oh, okay.
In that sense.
I got you.
But she's just so much better than me. I mean, it's.
Have y'all been playing for similar amounts of time, or is there any difference in your like formal experience as guitar players?
Well, she had been playing guitar really young. She started out on violin and started playing guitar. This is kind of a guess, but just from talking with her, maybe like 10. And her violin stuff, there's some stuff on YouTube of her doing violin is really good. Like, crazy good. Like, I'm sad she doesn't like playing it as much, but, you know. So she had done that for like, I guess since she was 10. She's 22 now, and she's just fantastic at it. And she had played in the youth orchestra symphony, or I don't know the exact terms, when she was a kid in Knoxville. She grew up in Knoxville, and she hasn't done anything in college. I did drumline in high school, drumline at UT, and that's sort of where my expertise has ended.
So that leads into the one of the questions I can ask. What do you have, if any, formal musical or artistic education?
Well, I was in band in high school. I felt I have never really learned to read music or anything, which is really what they taught. But I've always had an ear of like picking things up or making things out, which thankfully my band director in high school was just like, okay, well, make up something cool.
So you're playing to your strength.
Yeah, which helped, you know.
Yeah,
it was just like, make it sound good with what we're playing, and you're good. Because I tried to read music, but when I was a kid, I would like look up on YouTube or just get on my piano and stuff and play along with a song. And so when I got to school and had music put in front of me, or even now, it's like frustrating to look at this, and it's like it's really frustrating to me because it's like, well, I'm picking around kind of doing nothing trying to learn this when I could be jamming out and really playing with it, you know. And so I've got a good ear for that stuff, but actually in like if an orchestra called me or something, it's like, oh, hell no, you know.
Nah.
But then if a random band is like, hey, you want to come up and jam, and they're not like,
that's more your speed.
Putting music, it's like, damn, yeah, I can do that all day. It's I guess it's just a totally different beast.
Yeah.
So I had, you know, drumline in high school and then drumline at UT. Other than that, no professional training. Even with sound, it's all just been,
experience.
Oh, I've messed this up 500 times. I know not to hit this button now, you know.
Especially right now.
But,
so,
you know, drumline was fun. I could never do like an orchestra. I don't think.
Was it all percussion?
Yeah.
Every bit of it.
Well, when I was really young, my first year of band was French horn.
And that treated you so well. It didn't push you out of band.
No. I liked French horn. I just, you know, I saw sticks to bang things with. I was like, oh.
That looked a lot
Can
more
I
fun.
do this instead? You know.
I like hitting things. Let me hit things.
I learned at Mean Jurassic Park on the French horn. I know, you know, I wanted to drums, and I don't know why drums necessarily, but
well, I will admit,
fun.
beating things with sticks does sound a little bit more fun than playing the French horn. But that's just me. I have very little musical talent in me. I wouldn't even say I have rhythm in my soul because I'm redheaded and have no soul. But I did elementary music education in my school, which was great.
You had that elementary?
Yeah.
I never had it. Well, maybe a little, but
which
not.
I went to I'm from Hancock County, which is a very underprivileged part of the state of Tennessee. And it was amazing. We had a music program in elementary school, period, just school budget wise. And you know how that is, school music programs and school budgets and stuff. Like it just gets gutted every year more and more. And then in middle school, I had an elective course that was taught by like a traveling musician teacher guy, and it was bell choir. So I learned how to read music for that to play brass bells. And I was in like the Hancock County Middle School Brass Bell Choir, and that was kind of cool because you're playing bells and not like.
Are you talking about the like chimes that like hang down?
No, I'm talking like handbells.
Oh yeah, I love
Yeah, so playing handbells is really neat. I did that for a year, 7th grade, and then that's where my formal music education stopped. And after that, I just got really heavy into visual arts.
Did you take courses in it, like in school, or?
I had a theater arts class, and the theater teacher also did a lot of the traditional arts education in the school. And she's super talented. Shout out Deb Reed. Super awesome lady, very talented artist in terms of theater and visual arts and the production of both. So like, she was kind of the jack of all trades in the school system for anything creative, for things that weren't specifically language. Now, I had other teachers that were really good poets and authors and stuff, so like that was represented as well. But in visual arts and performing arts, it was this lady, and she was always super encouraging within the curriculum, because we had curriculum we had to follow, do this, do that, school stuff. But anything inside the curriculum, if we had an idea that was relevant to what we were trying to learn, she was like, go for it. And she has this wall in her classroom, or had this wall in her classroom, that we would always use to projector with to throw up outlines, and then we would get that on and then paint the thing or whatever it was on the wall. So she had everything from like the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider character to like the Angry Beavers and Gerard Butler from 300, and all kinds of characters and movie scenes and stuff up on this wall. And it was just a giant collage of all the things in entertainment that she really enjoyed. And it was really fun for me to help her paint Daggett and Norbit from Angry Beavers on her wall. I really enjoyed that. That was cool.
It's pretty weird to like look back when you were younger and see how everything kind of connected to like what you do now.
Oh man, I've called my math teacher. He and I share the same birthday. I love you, Brian Green. And I called him a couple years ago. I was probably 23, 24, like really just settling into the geometric style that I really play heavy in now. And I was like, look, dude, first of all, happy birthday, because I always call him every year on his birthday, which is also my birthday. And I told him, I was like, look, man, I don't think that I would be doing what I do artistically now if it wasn't for your Geometry 1 and 2 classes in high school. Because those classes and those experiences are what gave me the feel for what I like to do now. Because if I didn't have that knowledge of how to operate with shapes and angles and all that, I wouldn't know what in the hell to do when I get a paintbrush in my hand with the style that I've made for myself now. So there are very clear lines to the people that I have thanked between how I express myself now and the experiences I had as a wee youth in Sneedville in the school. So I've called these people, I've thanked them for their input and impression on my life. And those two people are way up there on the list.
Well, my band director, if he wouldn't have let me have the freedom kinda to make stuff up, or if it was like shut down real quick, it's like I probably won't be doing what I'm doing today. It's really cool to look back and little things, or even I did a lot of technology classes, and what I'm doing now is basically technology and music mixed. It's
for sure.
It's so cool to look back in your past and see how everything kind of unfolds, and
where the things meander. It's great. I had some also really good formal education from an instructor named Josh Ferguson, And he taught me a lot of the digital stuff and 3D stuff, like between Photoshop and 3D modeling softwares, like all that kind of stuff in college. He did me a solid favor, exposing me to things in those realms that I've since taken and played with, like all the jewelry and props and stuff that I make with my 3D printer. I would have never done a lot of that if it wasn't, for some of my professional experience as an employee with some companies and as a creative person, understanding what I can do with the tools that were presented in this context. It was great. Like, thanks a lot to that guy for showing me like the infinite possibilities I could achieve with the things that he was trying to teach us.
So do you have a 3D printer?
I do. It's upstairs. I actually have 2 of them. One of them is off being worked on right now for some upgrades. But
and you make jewelry, is that? Or?
I do make jewelry. I'll show you some. I'm not wearing any right now. It's all upstairs. I'll show you when we're done. But I make jewelry, and I make tools for myself that help me make art. So I'll have like stamps or stencils, or those are really the 2 big things. But I've made like appliques that go on top of canvases or under canvases to give them texture, or visual elements that I've painted and then applied to boards and canvases and stuff. Like I did a Grateful Dead piece for an artist friend of mine from Middle Tennessee, who I hope to have on the podcast sometime next month. But he wanted a Grateful Dead piece, so I 3D printed the Grateful Dead skull and filled it with resin and glow powder and painted it all up real nice, and then stuck that right in the middle of a canvas or a canvas board, and then did embellishments around it. So it's a full 3D piece, but the thing itself is painted, and then the background is painted, and some of it glows in the dark. So there's a lot of different stuff going on there. I'm actually a really big fan of that piece, and I'm happy he has it because he loves it.
That is another thing watched a few videos on, like, man, I wish I was an expert at this, but like I know I can never spend the time to do it, to really get into it.
Man, I've been 3D modeling and 3D printing since like modeling and working on the computer for 3D stuff since like 2012, and I've been 3D printing stuff since like 2016 or 17 is when I got my first robot, and I've been actively learning and pursuing different skill sets and making literally making the things I see in my head since then. Like one of the first things I ever designed and printed for myself was a feather that I stuck in a trifold hat for one of my burner outfits. I just made a pink feather and stuck it in a tricorn hat. And that was just a goofy thing that...
You had wanted one.
Yeah, I wanted a feather for this hat because this is really nice pirate hat I got at the thrift store or whatever, and I was like, damn, this needs a giant feather. And I didn't want like a turkey feather or anything, because like, that's cool, but it's not really me. Like, nothing against turkeys, but like, I didn't want some normalized
anti-turkey
feather.
man.
The WWF is coming for me. I was just like, you know what? I know I can draw this, and if I can draw it, I can make it on the computer, and if I can make it on the computer, I can print it. So I drew it, I modeled it, I printed it, I stuck it in my hat, and I wore it to a burn. I've worn it to festivals, and people are like, whoa, man, oh, look at that. And I'm just like, yep, I made that.
That's how I feel about music. You have a weird idea in your head, and it comes out. Or sometimes you don't even have an idea in your head, and you just start doing something, and it comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun.
So now that we're here, we can talk about influences. Are there any artists, regardless of genre, in or outside of music, that really influence your work? And that can be sound people, lighting people, musicians, visual artists, whoever. As long as they influence you, they're valid to the question.
I've always just looked up what I had wanted to know, but since lighting is my big thing, right now, I like lighting a lot. And do you know Evan Stone?
I don't.
Evan Stone had lived here for a couple years, and he taught me lights. Lighting is sort of a weird, almost cult-like thing. Sound.
I'll agree with that.
sound, if I wanted to look up anything with sound, it's like it's there. YouTube, tutorial, blah, blah, blah. Lighting is a little more cult-like. It's closed off.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me, but cool in the same way. It's like if you want to learn something really, you have to know someone that
knows how
that
to
knows
do
it. You know, that's kind of just the way it is. It's hard to seek information on your own on that type of thing.
Yeah.
So he taught me that, and I really look up to Evan Stone. He lives in Vegas now, and he's doing a lot of cool stuff in Vegas now. He's a lot of big shows.
There's always cool stuff in Vegas.
Vegas, I love video games. I'm playing a game right now called Sim Casino, where you build and manage your own casino. I'm having a ball with it. There's like updates every couple weeks, and it's like what they had this week.
I was in Vegas. I was in Vegas in July, and it was like 6 or 7 days after Vegas, quote unquote, reopened. So shit hadn't hit the fan quite yet. But you could see I was there for like 4 days. Every day I was there, I could clearly see more shit hitting the fan. It was wild.
I want to go to Vegas.
Vegas is pretty cool.
Where'd you stay?
I stayed at the Hilton, the Grand Hilton, which is kind of at the south end of the Strip, I think, if I remember correctly. But it was cool. I was like 27 floors off the ground, so I could see plumb out to the mountains, and did no gambling, but I did a lot of watching sports and drinking free drinks, and did a lot of eating good, and watched a lot of sports, like I said, and just, I don't know, like I'd never been, and I did everything I wanted to do, and I didn't want to gamble, so I was just like, screw these slot machines. Where's a big curved LED screen I can watch football on, or baseball, or whatever it was. They had a UFC fight that weekend, so I watched that too. It was neat, man. I'd never been that far away from home, and Vegas is kind of cool, and it was 115 degrees and zero humidity, and I did not realize how nice that was.
Oh, yeah.
Vegas,
so
in the summer, zero humidity, 3 digits of heat, doable. Very doable. So
just a very different feel, because here it's like hot.
Oh, dude, if it's 90 degrees here and 60% humidity, you want to die. Vegas, it was 115, zero humidity, and I was walking around outside like nobody can touch me. It was great.
Do you burn easy?
Or you looking at me as a redheaded human being? Like, yes, I do burn easy.
But would you like burn easier in Vegas or here if it was the same temperature?
I think both would give me a mean case of the sunburn. It's just that I was more comfortable outside because I didn't sweat.
Oh, yeah.
So like my hair and my skin felt so different because there was no humidity and I wasn't sweating. Like that. The only time I sweat, man, honestly, is like the first couple minutes it took my body to acclimate to the 70 degrees it was or whatever in the casino. Like I would stop in somewhere to go take a leak and I would just be like standing there.
Did it feel really cold?
It didn't feel really cold. It's just like, here I am standing like I know I'm inside. Why am I sweating? I'm inside. And then it's like, oh, I just walked in from outside where it's zero humidity and it's like 15% or whatever in here. It's wild, dude. It really is. And I was honestly, I won't say I was shocked, but I was legitimately surprised at just how different 3-digit heat and zero humidity is to like 90 degrees and 50 or 60% humidity is here in East Tennessee. It's totally different.
I don't even know how to like really comprehend it in my brain, like how it would feel.
So imagine taking a hairdryer and turning it around and shooting it at your face on the high setting, but from like the length of your arm. You know, like you stick your arm.
So it's just hot, but
it's hot.
It's weird,
and it's dry, but it's not uncomfortable.
That's such a. I mean, I haven't really experienced it. I need to.
Obviously, saying 115 degrees sounds terrible, but it's not. It's really not. And I was genuinely surprised at how comfortable it was. Like, obviously, 115 degrees is hot as shit, but it wasn't like, oh God, I must get inside right now. The world is ending. Like, I'm gonna catch on fire. No. And me as
90s,
as a redheaded person with pale skin, like, I only wore sunscreen one day, and that's the day I knew we were going to be literally out and about in the desert and at the Hoover Dam and stuff. So I knew we were going to be outside more than average for that trip. So That was the only time, and I didn't get sunburned. I managed to go to Daytona Beach in June and Vegas in July and get sunburnt neither.
Huh.
I was really proud of myself.
Nice.
Really proud.
Well,
somehow I managed to escape my own fate.
Well, when we went to Florida the first of this month, it wasn't even necessarily that hot. It was like 88, 90-ish. But yeah, it was just so wet down there that it felt miserable. So even more so than here. So I really want to experience like no
go west,
moisture.
Go to the desert. It's great. The desert is cool.
So you said that's the furthest you've been?
Yeah, the furthest I've been from home. Before that, it was Denver, Colorado for my birthday 2 years ago. But yeah, that's the furthest I've ever been from home. Next stop, California.
Where are you going?
San Diego, probably, because I have family there.
Nice.
But if not there, then Astoria, Oregon, because I have a really good friend of mine I need to go visit up there.
I think the furthest I've been is Idaho. I went to like Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana in that area. I had a girlfriend, and her parents had a house there, and it was really cool. It was close to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
But it was in Idaho, so it's like she was in Idaho, and on the border of Wyoming and Idaho, there's this giant mountain range. It's the Teton Mountains.
Yep.
And it was the weirdest experience because I'd never seen a mountain that massive.
When I went to Denver for the first time, I was like, that's what a 14,000 foot mountain looks like. Holy shit. Because
it was crazy.
You know, we live in East Tennessee and we got these piddly ass, old, very beautiful mountains. But they don't get snow capped around here. They don't get over 10,000 feet.
It's crazy down there.
Oh man, it's wild.
And so what was crazy, we went to her house. Her house is in Idaho. And we started driving, and the way the mountains look, it's flat on the side that we were. Looking at the mountains, it looked like it was like 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away. So we start driving towards the mountains. We finally get there, maybe an hour and a half later. Right. It's like, holy man.
Something about the flat up to the base of the mountain really, like, the perception of it really gets you.
And you don't get that here. I was like, what on earth? It looked like 10 minutes away. You know, like a 10-minute mountain.
We drove to Golden, and Golden is where the Coors brewing facility is. And we went to this overlook up on the mountain at like 11,000 feet. And from this particular overlook, you could see three 14,000 foot peaks on the Rockies mountain range from where you were standing there looking west. And you could look east and see nothing but the Midwest, flat nothingness and to the horizon. And that was the first time I'd ever been able to see flat nothingness and streetlights to the horizon. So that little moment right there really blew my socks off.
Magical a little bit.
It was, for real, because here I am. I'm country, but only because I've lived here my whole life, not because it's my lifestyle. And I've never been able to see flat to the horizon in that way, you know, on land, because of, you know, where I've spent my whole life. It's just not possible. Like, that doesn't work here in East Tennessee unless you're on top of a mountain and then you see other mountains and valleys and other mountains and valleys. So it just doesn't work here. So here I was standing on top of a mountain at like 11,500 feet looking east, like, holy shit. This place really is flat, and it's flat every single mile until the Mississippi River, essentially. You know, like, just putting that scale in perspective in my mind, just like, I came from here, I'm here now, I look that direction, everything's flat, and it stays flat, and stays flat, and stays flat until you get to like Middle Tennessee. Yellowstone
was really interesting. So I looked up pictures of it and whatnot, and you know, you see the different colored water. But when you're there in person, you like plop down, it feels like you're in an alien planet. The atmosphere is different. The water, it's like glowing neon. It's like a picture can't do it justice. No. You feel like you're on like a different planet. It's like, this is so
And you
crazy.
Were sitting on top of a volcano the whole time.
Oh, yeah. What's weird to me is humans like, hey,
let's make this an attraction.
Yeah. Let's build a hotel here, man. Let's get people to watch this geyser.
Yeah, that shit's wild.
That Niagara Falls was really interesting too.
I haven't been there, but I know people that have.
It was really cool. And well, that's actually the only time I've been to a different country.
Did you drive up to Canada through Niagara?
My ex-girlfriend that had the house in Idaho also had a house in Niagara Falls.
How convenient.
So, and a lot of other places. So I traveled a lot when I dated her. But we went up there, and it was, you know, and just right over the border. It was such a different place. It
literally, all you gotta do is cross the line.
It was weird, but the falls were pretty mesmerizing.
Oh, dude, I would imagine. There's one other falls on the place of the earth the face of the earth that's that big, and it's in Africa somewhere. Like that's such a rare natural occurrence that there's literally only one other place on the planet that happens to that scale. It's crazy. Like I've not been there, but I definitely want to go.
There's this little, well, I guess it's a big boat, like kind of like a tugboat type thing. It just goes right up to the falls, and people have like
their ponchos and shit. Yeah,
I didn't get on it. Isn't that a weird attraction? It's like go get wet by the Niagara Falls, man.
Dude, that's a little
$20 and you get on the boat.
And you get some of that waterfall water right all over you. Yeah, it's great. I would never do that, but I'm happy somebody decided that they needed to create a service to get people drenched with waterfall water. Someone's
making their living on that.
I would love
a couple
to think
people.
Some person really likes to just pilot some boats or captain some boats. They're like, yeah, drench them.
Do you like living here, or do you want to live somewhere else?
I really enjoy living in East Tennessee, but there are places that I would like to spend a significant amount of time. I would love to go to the Pacific Northwest. So now I actually have a reason other than my own selfish desires to go visit. One of my best friends lived there. He's lived there for a few years, and I've yet to make it out there to visit, so I'm an asshole. But I definitely want to go up there. I want to spend at least a couple months up there. If I can ever manage to just like spend 4, 5, 6 months up there at once, like if I can spend a whole summer or winter season up there, I'll be peachy. But if I can ever manage to live up there, that'd be great. I would like to live in the desert now that I know what the desert's like. Honestly, I would just like to have an underground dome home in every space, like every different region of the planet, because I don't imagine there would be a lot of places I wouldn't like living, especially if I could live underground.
Have you ever seen one of the underground houses or been to one?
Mm-hmm.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
Near my grandpa's house, there's this lady. She was actually one of my teachers.
Hey, there you
lived
go.
in an underground house. You'd like mow on your lawn, and it was a big dome.
Well, a lot of people in
cool.
Australia, they dig underground homes, and a lot of people out in the American Southwest either build earthships or live underground, and I just think that's definitely the way to go. If you live in any sort of extreme climate, building underground is definitely the ticket. But my the hippie side of my personality is like, yes, make it super sustainable, cover in dirt, make sure all the plants get to grow again. I really, really, really want an underground dome home.
Are they like expensive comparative to a regular home?
Depending on how much square footage you want. Like there's a sweet spot for it, and then it gets like way out there. And it also depends on what construction method you use. Like there's spray foam concrete. There are like blown up bubbles that use like a air pressurized form, and then you blow concrete at that. Or now you can 3D print a house, which makes me super happy. I would love to have a 3D printed home.
Brick by brick, man.
They layer by layer. There are several companies out there 3D printing concrete homes, and Icon out of Texas is one of them. There's one in Florida. There's a company in Germany that just built the first permitted residential 3D printed structure. I love it.
That's ridiculous.
Oh god, I love it so much. Like this makes my techno geek robot user personality so happy.
When are we gonna 3D print a ship? Like a container ship, a massive
container ship is off the board right now, but passenger vessels. Small John boats and stuff like that have been done. What? I can't remember if the University of Maine or the University of Vermont did a 20-foot John boat, not like a John boat, but like a single outboard, whatever you see the TWRA running around in when they're on the lake, like that single captain, 20-foot boat that they just patrol around in, they did something about that shape.
We're getting into some crazy stuff in the world. It's Illuminati and...
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. If these kind of advancements make it easier for people to live their lives and have access to things that are hard to access, then great. If I, by chance, build a 3D printer big enough in my backyard that I can print myself a boat, then guess what, motherfucker? I have a boat now. It's great.
Imagine if someone from the 1700s, like, looked at us now, or we were plopped there. So we would be... look like gods almost.
Magic is any technology you cannot understand or fail to explain. So, if you just, like, showed Velcro to somebody from the 1700s, you'd blow their damn mind.
It's like, what?
And how often do we use Velcro? Like, I have it on my shorts right now.
You don't even think about it. It's just a thing.
Yeah, it's just, whatever, my pockets stay closed because Velcro.
Magic sticky.
Yeah. Magic sticky carpet patch. Like, it's like the TV looky box. Like, Squidbillies, what's his face, the main character, calls the TV magic looky box. And I'm just like, yes.
At least when it was a laser. It's amazing. A little laser going faster than you can comprehend. I mean, that's kind of magical.
It is kind of magical. And I honestly, that question is something I think about a lot. Not because, like, oh, look at us, we're so advanced, but it's just like, look at how far, like, society has come to the point where if you were to take X random person from here and X random person from here and let them talk for 30 minutes, one of those people would have their mind blown. Probably both of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, imagine what knowledge has been lost, too. I think it goes both ways.
It does. It does definitely go both ways. And that's... Indigenous land management is one of the things that has been a really hot topic thing in culture lately, because all the wildfires in California and the Pacific Northwest and all that stuff, all the tragedy that they're happening with their natural land didn't really happen the same way when all the indigenous people managed all that land.
Yeah, they know the secrets of the land.
These 1,000,000-acre wildfires weren't a thing back in the day because the people that worked and lived on that land knew exactly what they were doing, and that's just how it was. And they knew what was up, so that they didn't have to deal with that shit, because they did more often management for the betterment. It just pisses me off to see the people removed from the land that have the knowledge should treat it the way they should. Like, all the people that need to be working this stuff, y'all can't do it, and now this is what happens. Like, you got a 1,000,000-acre wildfire.
What's the... I mean, I guess I understand the point of taking it over, but, like, really, if, like, these people know the land and whatnot, if you were a business guy, why wouldn't you, capitalize what they're doing and introduce them into the system instead of rooting it out?
Yeah. Well,
because
capitalism, imperialism, nationalism, all those good things, whatever.
Humans are weird, man.
God, we are, aren't we?
Do. It's like we get so along on, like, a very personal level, but on a large scale level, when there's multiple humans involved, it's like, which is a slightly scary thing with technology. I think it's like the more you get away from a personal level, everything becomes more.
Yeah, it's the
enfranchised, I guess you could say.
The disassociation is dangerous, and I think the one of the corporate America things that I'm not really a fan of is the what's the word? It's where you just dissolve responsibility. Like, the company did this, not any one of the 30 members on the board. So, we can't send any one person to jail for this, but we can find the company $1 billion. Yeah. It's like Dieselgate, Porsche, Audi, VW, BMW, all these companies making vehicles, and they knew that they were cheating emissions tests. But, they put a few people in jail from VW, but let's be real about it. Like, more people could have went to jail. And the $30 billion fine that VW had to pay is jack shit to their bottom line. Mm-hmm. That's the largest automobile manufacturing company on the planet. $30 billion is nothing. So, like, let's talk about some serious fines here, or, like, let's start putting people in jail, and we know that people would rather pay and then continue than actually go to jail.
Business is... I like business. Well, I have my own business with the sound and stuff.
Yeah.
It's for a lot of events, they come to me. I rent this system. I get this. I hire an employee to do this type thing.
Yeah.
And so it's a double-edged sword because it's almost like I get both sides in a lot of ways. Definitely not the extremes of business,
right?
But it's like, you do have to, when it's your business, you have to worry about taxes to pay your people or pay someone something, and so it gets into a weird flow of it's like tax laws. It's like, this was written to help businesses, and then when you're actually in the thick of it, it's like, well, I kind of almost have to do that to pay someone sometimes, or it allows it. So that's a tricky thing, and I hate that it's almost two-sided, because I'm kind of, I work for a lot of people, and then I have the business too, so I get both sides of it, and our society definitely hasn't figured out a right way to do it yet.
So I'll say this, and then we'll take a short break, and this is where I would put sponsor activity if I had sponsors, but I heard somebody say, not heard, but I read a quote on the internet from some old guy that's probably dead now, that we should stop judging laws and policies based on their intent, but their execution and how they affect the common person. And we'll take a break. Yeah, so back from break, we're going to switch it up a little bit, get back more to the artistic conversation. Do you have any artistic musician influences that sort of that you filter into your playing in one instrument or the other, or any at all, period?
A lot of my piano and songwriting, I guess, comes from Meatloaf and Jim Steinman.
That's great.
I'm
here for it.
My big thing in the future, when I'm like, okay, it's time. I'm making a band. There's going to be a rock opera Meatloaf-esque.
I love it,
and it's just
ticket sold. I'm here for it.
Jim Steinman on piano is just my hero of everything I want. It's so random, so non-structural that I love it. The theatricalness of it is just cool to me. Yeah, it's really cool.
I totally agree.
And so that was kind of my first big musical thing that's like, oh wow, I want to do that. And then my second one was really Led Zeppelin, and Robert Plant's voice, Jimmy Page's guitar. It's just like, oh, this is rock,
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I'd say almost anything I make now is kind of based by that.
So those two things, you could pick those out of your work?
Yeah.
Probably.
A third one.
Okay.
And that's it. Well, I can name 5 million, but the three that is like kind of the core of everything, Led Zeppelin, Meatloaf, and Neil Young.
That's a really good mix. Mm-hmm. Like that's classic rock, classic Americana. Like that's a good mix. That's a good start.
Meatloaf's a little out there compared to most things,
but I mean, theatrically, it is well within the bounds of theater.
Well, I remember the first time I heard Meatloaf. It was about I was like, I'm like, oh my god! I was a little.
The
kid.
hell is this?
Just like, wow! it was amazing,
mm-hmm.
And I felt that when I had listened to Led Zeppelin, and with Neil Young, I didn't necessarily feel that with Neil Young, but I learn a lot of chord structures and song structures from Neil Young.
So that's more of a technical influence than overall.
Yes, which is kind of opposite, I think, of what you would think, because it's the least technical music. It's sort of the most laid back, mm-hmm. kind of mellow.
But if that's the sound you like, then how that becomes the thing is interesting.
So, okay, I like Neil Young's songwriting, chord structure. I like Meatloaf's theatrical, big sound, mm-hmm. and I like Led Zeppelin's energy and just
So when you really sit down,
that's my triad.
So when you sit down to do the thing that you're going to put your name on, this is Dillon Bunn music. This is the shit I do. It's going to be a good mix.
Yeah,
of those.
it's those three I'd say of everything that's brought the core out, and there's millions of other things.
It branches out so far from.
Like I did that EDM show, so I started making the EDM music, but everything kind of my chord structures. It's like the EDM music that I'm going to make is coming from a Neil Young song. It's just what it is.
Is any of that available to be listened to? I really want to hear that.
EDM stuff, yeah, I have. I don't have much under my name, which is really sad. I'm going to start making more, but just Dillon Bunn on Spotify.
Okay.
And I made a mistake when I was creating some of the stuff. So there's a lot of like classical stuff on there too and whatnot, and I need to find a way to separate it better.
Yeah.
Because I want Dillon Bunn to be like just my. I don't know what I want it to be because I make so much music.
Right, but whatever that individual channel is for your thing.
A good overview of just the random stuff I make is my YouTube, because I'll put anything on there. I've tried to separate the actual music, like on Spotify, into different artist names and channels, but it just doesn't work to put it all in one, because it's like you're listening to like meditation, and then it goes into it doesn't work, and that's kind of sad.
But shuffle artist is a bad
shuffle artist is really bad under my Spotify right now. You'll hear a classical tune, then you'll hear a psychedelic rock tune, and then you'll hear which maybe's good. I don't know.
Harp music.
Some harp music, yeah. But the past few years it's been separated, but some of the older stuff is still mixed in there. Shared artist. Which it is what it is.
And that's all you can say about it.
I'm separating a little more now, but
a lot of that work goes in on the front end, I guess, to figure out what you want with what and where you want it.
Yeah, well, to make it, I always want to have that as like the thing that pays me, because I never want to be tied to a job. Yeah. I have to do a little bit of strategy on that, but it's when I wake up and make music, which is probably about like half of what I do, half of my job and everything, I don't think about what I want to do. I just get up and it's like, what am I making today? I don't know. Let's hit a few keys.
That leads me to one of my more fun questions. What's your workflow look like? What is the perfect, like, I'm going to make music day look like for you? There is not. If that's one answer, then great. But if that's like, it's some of this and some of that, that's also a good answer. So just however you feel fit to answer that question.
The best music making day. The best music making day is when the day before I haven't had any sound work or light work.
So your brain is fresh.
So I've had a day to do nothing but play RuneScape all day. I'm going to go off on a RuneScape tangent here in a minute.
That's fine. That's fine.
So I've played RuneScape 15 hours that day. My mind's clear. I wake up the next day. I don't have a sound or light gig. I wake up. I'm like, I'm going to go to my piano, turn it on. And at this point, I have a nice little studio, so all my instruments are hooked up into my interface. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to spend time hooking up. It's pre-hooked up. It's ready. I hit a few keys. I get a jig going. It starts turning into this old classical Baroque song. I'm like, oh, this is cool. What if I added some 808 drums to this? Then it turns into a techno song. By the end of that song, if I'm creating real music, if I'm kind of doing it that I have to do for my business to live on, essentially, I record some songs. But so this 1700 Baroque classical medieval song has now have 808 drums on it. I'm like, you know what this needs, man? This needs a 80s rock guitar solo. Then it'll go into that, and then I'll get halfway through that and be like, you know what? I want to take this Baroque medieval stuff out, and I'm going to add an organ. And what comes out at the end of it is what comes out. Mm-hmm. So almost every song I've put time into starts out as totally different genre, totally different something. And I can almost have it done to where it's good in that genre. It's like I got a whole classical song written out. I've spent 15 hours recording trumpets into it, timpani into it, this, and I slowly start adding guitar into it. It's like, you know what, this song's gonna be a rock song.
It's not this anymore, it's now that.
And so I slowly start adding, like, it's like, okay, I'll add a drum set into this, and it's like, okay, well, I don't need that tuba anymore, and then so my classical song will turn into a rock song, and it can go the opposite. It's like my rock song turns into a classical song, and how does that happen? I don't know, but
it just happens.
It's fun. So that's the perfect day. I just sit there and do that for 15 hours, change. And a good day, I'll get 3 or 4 songs out, good songs, when I'm working on my real actual music instead of what I have to make.
So is RuneScape a pivotal part of your workflow?
Yes. I am always. Okay, I have over 16,000 hours on the game. I love this game. I've played it since 2005. Mm-hmm. And I'm just always on it. Even when I'm at a Lineage sound gig, you'll see my computer over there, and I'm chopping trees. I can't waste that XP. It is always up there. I'm not kidding. And I've maxed the account out. I've almost maxed 2 accounts out, and I'm working on a 3rd account. I just love the game. I've never had a game that has. I don't even know why I like it. I hate it sometimes, but it's just like it's like if I'm not chopping that tree, I'm wasting time. You know, I gotta.
There's shit to be done right now, even right now.
I love RuneScape. If anyone plays that listens, please add me. I'm Cream Noodle. Please add me.
Is it all lowercase, no special stuff?
Cream Space Noodle. Please, I would love to do some raids. You know,
whatever it is.
But
that's great.
It is.
But it legit is an important part of how you get into Headspace.
Oh, this is terrible. RuneScape has been it. It's the core of everything I do. Seriously, the songs I make.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Do you think about how they could work in that environment?
Yeah. One thing I'm doing right now, I've got. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say this.
No,
I'm working on a lot. No, I probably shouldn't say it. I'm working on a lot of RuneScape music. I was gonna go off into.
No, look.
I'm not saying that.
This microphone, everything that comes through this microphone is marked as explicit. So you can say whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
I'll stick with it. I'm making a lot of RuneScape music, so I've came across a bunch of RuneScape music, and so I put my own synths to it and reorchestrate it some, or it might turn out into a rock version. Mm-hmm. But I've probably got the notation to 600 or so RuneScape tracks, and I've started making them and putting them out. If you want to listen to that, it's Zazima in Spotify, and it's just RuneScape songs that I've reorchestrated. Some of them are orchestral, some are EDM, some are just piano covers.
Just things you would feel fit inside the environment that is that game.
Well, it's the actual songs in the game. I just redo them. So I'll listen to the songs and rewrite it. So it's the same songs. It's just putting my instruments to it, maybe a little flair to it, or just what I think's different. But I do that to a lot of things. I've done that to a lot of Final Fantasy music too. I can't think of what artist that is. That I put a lot of my music under different artists to separate it, because I don't want it under Dillon Bunn, because you'll be listening to
all kinds of shit.
1700s music, and then the next day next song you're listening to heavy metal doom. You never know. Mm-hmm. So I separated into artists, but I love remixing. I don't want to call it remixing, redoing video game music. But yeah, RuneScape has a very deep tie into my life. Probably sad. It's sad.
I don't think it's sad.
I don't know. I love it.
I don't think it's sad. So, all right. Are there any other games or things you find yourself inspired by in that manner, or is it literally just RuneScape and RuneScape rules all?
I guess maybe like influences in media.
Yeah, for sure.
RuneScape's the big one.
Is there
everything else is sort of short-lived. Where I do a lot of lights and sound, I'll see an artist that I really like that's just unique, and it's like, I want to make a few songs kind of like that. Mm-hmm. And then I'll do that for a week or two.
Yeah, get it out of your system.
Sort of like the thing I was talking about last week. EDM artists, like, okay, I want to make a bunch of DJ music because it was kind of cool. I just listened to it. I'm kind of in that mood, you know. Just being in that environment, people jumping up and down, lights flashing. Yeah. People have got like I guess you'd say the festival balls moving around. It's like your head space is in that. So I'm like, I'm kind of in that headspace. I want to make some EDM stuff. So most things are kind of short-lived. But RuneScape is a long-lived one because I'm addicted to it, and you know, it's just what it is.
Man, video game soundtracks have wormed their way into my creative workflow in a manner that I never expected. Like I'll straight up turn on some video game soundtracks and sit down and go to work and start playing stuff. Yeah, I will for sure. And I just found an indie game that has a great electronic music. Spelunky is the indie game, and it's on PlayStation Network, and it has a Spelunky. It's like spelunking, like cave diving. It's a cave exploring game. Yeah, I'll show you in a minute. But it's got a great electronic inspired soundtrack. Some of it's like really doomy, gloomy, like I'm gonna die in this cave, and the rest of it's just like, yeah, man, we're gonna get out of this cave. And
soundtracks it's so fun. Undervalued too.
Undervalued, yes. It is. It really surprises me when I find an original media soundtrack in something somewhere I wasn't expecting it, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit. Like, this is the thing I need to play while I'm cooking breakfast tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You know, like I need to listen to this because this is good to me. Like, I need this in my life. So that's definitely one of them. And then movies that have original soundtracks really get me, because I will love to listen to an original movie soundtrack. Like, if it's all original movies, yes. That, and then a lot of the Star Wars soundtracks too, even the prequels, y'all can hate on it, like Hans Zimmer and great stuff. Basically, anybody that did music for an action or sci-fi movie from like 1974 to like 1995, I'm about it. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of newer sci-fi movies are starting to use a lot more original soundtrack stuff again. Because I adopted this point of view from a really good friend of mine, that if a movie uses already established music, it's hard to get other memories that are cued by that song out of your head and interrupting the experience of the movie. Like, you know, when Iron Man played Black Sabbath in the movie for the first time, like, I thought about literally any other time I've heard that song in my life, I associate that song with that movie now. Yeah. So, like, there's something about it that can either enhance or detract from that movie experience when you use already established music. And so it's a double-edged sword. Like, James Gunn's
usage. It is cool sometimes, too, though. Yeah. It is a double-edged sword, because it's cool, and say Iron Man, but at the same time, it is a very double-edged. Well, I get what you're saying.
It's Gunn did a really good job putting like 70s and 80s music in the Guardian of the Galaxy franchise, because the main character, Star-Lord, you know, that's where he's from in American society, and the songs they used in those soundtracks fit the movie well enough you kind of forgot where else you heard them out and about in society, unless you had a really strong connection to one of those songs otherwise. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword, and I love original movie soundtracks. They got, like, it needs to be something that doesn't take you out of the moment when you're watching the movie. It's great.
One of my favorite things to do is, I used to do it a lot more. I'm going to do it more now since it kind of brought it up and the thing about it. I love putting like a good movie or show on silent and having it on and maybe looping a part and just writing something to it.
Yeah.
Because you get cool little things. It's like, say Jurassic Park, since we were talking about that. It's like if I loop a scene, and some of the music software I use is nice because it will let you like upload a video and then kind of loop this part over and over and put it in sync to where you're recording.
That's awesome.
It's like if this thing's happening right there, I can add like a little meow or something, like if it's horror or something, and it makes you write different because you're basing it off of just this visual cue that you're getting, and you're kind of getting the mood from the movie.
Because that's what you're writing really to, and reacting to, instead of just be like, oh, here's this thing, let's see if it matches up with whatever visual input I want to put with it. Like, no, I'm writing in cadence with the things happening on the screen.
And I actually haven't done that in a while, or very often at least in a while. But now that we've talked about it, you know, like we were saying, from experiences you just have, that's what I'm going to do probably tonight because we just talked about it. Yeah. And that's a really fun way. I've probably done 200 or 300 songs like that, and I would argue they probably come out better in a lot of ways because it's...
You have something to work off.
A little more, yeah. It's a little more direction than sometimes my very random, I want to play 3 chord and see what happens, and I'll add a trumpet into this. And, you know.
I know that in my workflow, I'll have, I do a lot of geometric stuff. So I'll have some sort of arrangement of shapes in my mind, and that'll be like the bones of the piece, and I'll put that down. And then how I embellish those shapes with color and dots and patterns is really after the fact, because I just want to get this shape down, and then once I get this shape down on the canvas, I can play with it however I please. But like having the idea first, and then the cathartic release of like having that shape now on paper that I can play with is the fun part. The release, the therapy is the getting it down, and then the fun part is playing with it after it's out of my head.
You know, sometimes that's a hard thing, and what I do, it's like ultimately kind of need a skeleton down, same with the picture I would imagine.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm just stubborn, and I'm in that mood of like, I want to work on this first 10 seconds of this song and make it perfect, and then it's good, and then after that it's like...
It's like, what do I do with this determination and energy after that?
Yeah, it's... And you know, you've spent so much on that, so anything you kind of do on the other structure seems kind of pointless, almost, because you've made this so detailed and like pristine that it's...
Like, this 10 seconds is literal fire. What about the other minute and a half?
And I've been stuck in that so many times.
Well, at what point in your workflow do you look at something and go, if I mess with this anymore, I'm going to screw it up, so I should stop now? Do you have that struggle?
Yeah. I guess there's no good way to answer this. It's like... Sometimes I'll spend 20 minutes on a song. It's like, this is a good song. And it's like, I'm done. And then sometimes, and then I listen to it and it's like, well, that actually wasn't that good, you know. And then sometimes I'll spend 10 hours on a song and I'm just like, this is not good enough. It's, you know, I got to tweak this and this. And then I'll leave it for 2 months just on my hard drive. And then I'll come back 2 months later. I have hundreds of songs just sitting there. And I'll come back and I was like, oh, I don't remember making this. Dang. This is good, you know.
So that's like that Grateful Dead piece I was telling you earlier. Like, I had a lot of time making that thing, and then I gave it to the dude, and he posted about it a couple of months after I'd given it to him. So I was like, man, like, given some time and separation from this piece, like, I'm a bigger fan now than when I looked at it or had the idea the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I am so happy that you have that, and I see it 4 months later. Looks great. Yeah, I didn't need to look at it for 4 months.
I do that a lot. Very common. I'll create a song, pretty much forget about it. 3 months later, be like, I need to go through some songs and look at them, go through some old ones, be like, that's pretty good. I'm going to add some more to this, and then do that again. Like, do like another filtration process, and listen to it again in another 3 months. And like, why haven't I put that out?
Right.
Or, you know, something. And
I've got a theme right now in my work of 2 like interconnected circles. And I've done 3 or 4 different pieces with it, and I'm still not done because there's something about it, about this theme or these bones of this piece that I'm just not satisfied with yet.
Special, yeah.
There's just something about it that I haven't played with it enough yet. And I know that I'll sit down and be like, I'm going to work on this today. And I'll do something and it'll either leave me alone after that or it won't. Because the ideas and the pictures I get in my brain about the art that I make, they like, if I could put it into the analogy of like knocking on someone's door and then someone finally answering the door is me actually like painting the piece or drawing the piece. These motherfuckers just don't quit knocking, dude. Like, they're, like, consistently in my head. Like, I need to draw this. I need to work on this. You're not going to sleep good.
It's rough, yeah. It's actually hard sometimes. Like, it's hard to sleep sometimes because you have those creative things.
I have lost sleep. I have felt physical pain, like all the things one could say about being tortured by their ideas. I've experienced it in some form or another, and I'd imagine that's a common experience for a lot of creative people.
Oh yeah.
But it's different for everybody, and then you and I can sit here and be like, yeah, it sucks, and both know exactly what we mean when we say it. So it's one of the, I feel like it's almost universal for being a creative person. Like, I've had ideas torture me until they end up physically on a canvas somewhere.
Yeah, and just as a random thing you'll see just stay in your mind until, it's weird, you don't even necessarily know what it is, but until 2 months later you'll put it into a song or something, and it's like, oh, okay. And I don't even know how to express that into words, but you'll put it into a song or something, and then it's out. Then it's like, oh, I feel good now.
It's all of a sudden there's this ease to my person. I'll be running around out and about in society, and I'll see something just out and about. Like I'll see arrangements of things, or things sitting on a shelf, or like a piece of advertising material, and somehow it'll just sit in the back of my brain and become some abstract, simplified series of geometric shapes, and all of a sudden, like 4 months later, I draw it, and I'm like, that feels great. Why was that bothering me the whole time? It's there's something about the how and the when that those ideas manifest that's really cathartic or relieving when you've actually like put it out there and let it come out of your fingertips. And you never really realize how much of a relief it is until you're done and you feel relieved, and then you realize how much of like an internal pressure it was. It's that contrast is one of the funny things that I know about me and can notice in my creative process.
Have you ever, I guess you'd say some type of synchronicity thing, but like an example, I hadn't seen you in a long time, or the Facebook algorithm has lost you at some point. You know what I mean? And, I just hadn't seen you or anything in a long time. And about, I guess, like a week ago, I saw, I was down at Jackson Terminal, going to do a show talking about it down there with some people. Someone had a Zamboni out.
What?
Yeah, like a floor Zamboni, like a waxer type thing. Okay, I was about to say. I immediately thought of you. I hadn't seen or thought of you in a while. Right. And it was either that night or the next day you messaged me. I'm like, what the hell? Things like that happen sometimes.
They really do.
What on earth? It's like, what are the chances that a Zamboni came up? And then I thought of you because I know you. I think our last conversation we were talking about you driving the Zamboni, and I was like, what? And then either that night or the next day you messaged me. I was like,
I try
what on earth is happening sometimes?
I try to
it's
lean
weird.
into that stuff. And if I get somebody on my mind, and like when I reached out to you the other day, it's just like, so-and-so's been on my mind today. I should probably send them a message, just at least say hi or ask them how they're doing or something. And since I started this venture with the podcast, you were one of the people I've wanted to have on. So far, I've had like a small handful of people that I was just like, I really need to talk to these people. And you were one of them. So thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me, man. It's been fun.
But, I've luckily had the luxury of being able to sit down and talk to everyone that I've really felt a strong need to sit down and talk to and share conversations with. And I've really enjoyed that. Like, it is indeed a luxury to be able to do this, and to share it is a luxury on top of that. But to the point, I really try to play into those synchronicities, because you never know when they're going to happen, and I don't try to fight it. And if I can lay into it, I will. But, I generally try to work with the things that come across my brain than fight them. And that helps in my creative output, that helps in my social engagements, and me being the person that I am, it sort of helps all around if I can, compromise in those ways with myself and people out and about. So I enjoy it.
I feel like your body or mind or whatever, a lot of that goes on under the iceberg knows a lot more than your thinking mind, and a lot of times something like that. It's I don't know. It's like I guess I don't want to get crazy spiritual or something. But it's like, the Zamboni thing. It's like, how did that happen? That's it's so circumstantial that it's like it's crazy, and maybe it's 100% circumstantial, maybe not. You never know.
So that leads to this question. Being a Zamboni operator, there is a lot of peace in one's workflow, some zen, if you will. I've personally experienced that in my creative workflow, and some of my professional workflows is zen, or what's the word, flow state, or anything like that. Is that something you find in your workflow, or do you find that in your creative output at all, or do you find that elsewhere in your creative expressions as a professional and professional artist?
Yes, I have to meditate a lot, and I guess that was a thing I found out like 4 years ago or something. And I was working at the call center, and I was just really depressed, man. Wasn't getting a lot creatively done, and I was like, I gotta change this, and
something's gotta give.
I don't know how exactly I got into it. Just YouTube videos and stuff, just meditation videos and just, I guess, more spiritual type stuff. And I just started meditating, and I guess being more conscious about that. And I don't do it all the time now. I was really heavy into it at one point, and I take spells now, and sometimes it's like, after a spell of not doing it in a while, I'll get back into sort of a more meditative, calming. I don't know exactly how to explain it. I guess a more inward searching state of mind. And it's always nice when I haven't been there for a while, and then I'll go back into it. It's kind of like a couple month fluctuation type thing. But I also feel it's a pretty weird thing, because you can't necessarily force yourself into it. It's kind of got to come to you, like the right circumstances at some point. But then it's weird. It's like life is a lot better. You're like really stressed out about a lot of these things, and then you come. For me, I'm a geek. I watch a lot of YouTube, and so it comes in that form. It's like, oh, this was meant for me, and then I'll kind of go down that path for a while, and I'm really at peace with the world, and really enjoying it, not stressed out, and not, I guess kind of thinking about what's important. And I don't know if that all makes sense, but it
does for sure. There's
it's a nice space.
There's something to be said for one's own practice of mindfulness.
Yeah.
And my practice of mindfulness in my workflow is usually when I have the brush in my hand, because then I don't have to concentrate about how, where, when. It's just the go. This color, this brush right here, this stroke style, that kind of thing. So in my workflow, that calm of mind comes from the doing of the actual painting.
Really?
Not like prepping the backgrounds, not laying out the bare structure of it. It's when I get to embellish the structure that I've built for the painting.
Yeah.
And that 1 to 7 or 8 hours is the headspace I get into, that your mind is quiet, and that's where I find the peace in my workflow, when I can be in that state of mind where my brain is quiet, my hands are moving, everything's reactionary, the flow state.
It's I love getting into the flow state when I'm doing music, and it's almost like a double-edged sword, because I almost hate after it.
Yeah.
Because after it, it's like I can't sleep. I'm thinking about it, and like I don't even know if it makes sense. It's just like my brain is just like, and it's not even a negative thing, but it's like, why did I just do this for 8 hours?
It's the flip side of that experience.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like doing it is bliss, but almost after is kind of like the pain of it all. I'm like, it's almost like the trade-off of equilibrium or something. It's
it
like,
really is. Well,
and it's kind of torturous in a weird way. It's like, I don't know how to describe it.
One of the things that gets me is like my ideal like workflow creative day is like I wake up at 9 or so, and I sit down for 4 or 5 hours and draw and do the thing, or work with my printer or whatever. And And then all of a sudden it's 1, 2, 3 o'clock and I haven't eaten or drank anything and I'm just like, oh God, my body hates me. What did I do?
Yeah,
so like
yeah,
the pain of being a human being is what has grounded me back into like the fact that I have a body, I need to service it, like I need to eat, I need to drink, I need to brush my teeth. Fun. Yeah, it's like I'm reminded I'm a human and not just some ethereal creative machine just putting beauty in the world, you know, be damned. But yeah, that's when that type of like pain and
I think that's what it is almost, because you've kind of tortured your body in a lot of ways by doing this thing for,
you know, however long you find yourself doing it. And then I'll just look down and like my belly will be rumbling and I'm just like, dear God, it's 2:30 and I need to eat breakfast. Like wake up at 8 and it's 2 and I'm just like, man, I haven't eaten anything today. I barely drank water, but this painting is badass. Yeah.
What is it about that? Well, I guess that doesn't make you creative, but it's like, what about that is something that creative people share in common? Because it's like when I've been in a mode of like working a very 9-to-5 job, I don't have that, you know. It's like, oh, I eat my breakfast, I do that.
I feel like there's something about the regimen that really, it's the structure can either work for you or work against you. And I feel like most people that don't have a job they enjoy, and this is a broad generalist statement, so don't like attack me about it, people listening on the internet. But I feel as if your regiment of your daily life isn't built around something that pleases you or you enjoy or you can find joy in it, it may not necessarily be something you just enjoy outright, but if you can find joy in aspects of it, then it's a lot easier to deal with as a daily task or responsibility than working at the call center, like your example, because obviously it was regimented, but where's the joy in that interaction? You know, there's not.
It wasn't for me, no.
Yeah, exactly. And I've never met anybody that just says, you know, hell yeah, working in a call center, fuck yeah, it's great. Like, I love it. You know, it makes me happy.
I've heard it compared to like the modern day boiler rooms. And I'm like, hey, that makes sense. Yeah, in a lot of ways.
I hate this. It's perfect analogy. I've never heard anybody speak highly of a call center. I've heard people speak highly of commissions they make working in a call center, but that's about it.
That was nice. Sometimes. When they decided to give them and not change the program around 360 after a month, or you know, that happened a lot too.
But I just feel like if there are aspects of joy you can pull from your routine, whatever it may be, the routine itself becomes a lot more lighthearted. You know, I walk into my job and I know there's a certain set of skills and tasks that I need to operate on a daily basis, and then sometimes we get the curveball. Even that curveball employs most of the time the same skill sets and workflows. It's just a small tweak to the thing that would normally be happening. And that kind of variation is enjoyable as long as it's not too extreme or too often, you know. Like I went to Lenore City High School and did a huge graphic up on a wall in their gym. And those graphics go on a wall just like anything else. I just happen to be 16 feet in the air doing it.
Just cool.
Yeah,
cool.
which is great.
Cool.
Yeah. Huge wall graphics high up on walls. That's something. But it's no different than any other graphic on any other wall. You just got to get up there and do what you know how to do, and then it's done. Yeah. So the workflow is the same. It's just the context is different. So that benefits me, the kind of person that I am. But there are a lot of other jobs that I've had that didn't have that. Like, I enjoy going into work and not knowing exactly what's going to happen that day. But I also don't enjoy that because of the varied experiences that could pertain to. Like, at the Coliseum, it was a lot different than at my current job because this is the show we got coming in today. They need this, this, and this on the rider. And, you know, if you've been in the entertainment industry long enough, you have a general idea of what people need when they come into X given venue to do what they're doing. A lot
sometimes.
And it is a lot sometimes, but you have a general idea of what they need. They need this space. They need these chairs, these tables, a fridge, blah, 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 green room this, green room that. They need a 60 by 40 stage. They need 400 seats here like this. You know, you have a general idea. And then sometimes it doesn't work out that way. You can give someone everything and then nothing's good enough. Or nothing works and everything's perfect.
I've got to admit, some of the bigger artists I've worked with have been the easiest.
I've had the experience on both extremes of that statement. Like I've interfaced with artists in that environment that were super chill, very well known, and I've operated with artists that were very well known, also like worldwide gigs, some of the most anal, fucking ridiculous shit I've ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna name names, but he's.
I shouldn't either.
I mean, whatever.
We're.
I guess this is all alleged, but I had an artist, a shock rock horror icon in the United States the last like 25 years or whatever. His name starts with 2 M's, and he was kind of needy on his rider. Like if his room wasn't 62 degrees or colder, he wasn't gonna do his show. Legit, we put him in a room underground with its own AC unit, in a company with the AC of the structure, like of the building. If it wasn't 62 or lower, he wasn't gonna perform. Dead set. Like, you really gonna fuss about a room being 62 degrees? Like, it baffled me. And I've seen other stuff, like I need only red M&Ms in my dressing room. Like that's like that cliche stuff is pretty normal in my experience in the entertainment industry. But I've had some people have some really far out riders and like make or break on those silly ass line items too.
Well, I've noticed, and this probably isn't 100% true, but the ones that are up and coming or kind of on the rise are really cool and chill. The ones that have sort of made it and they're kind of on the decline in a lot of ways.
They're a little more testy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Maybe if you're kind of a cooler person, you would kind of be up on the rise a lot too. Because I promise you, as a lighting guy, booking guy, sound guy, if you're a cool guy, I'm going to help you out as much as I can.
I'll do a lot for you, yeah.
If you're not, like, even, I mean, I want to be professional, but you're just not going to get as good of a show. And it's, I can't always help that.
Well, that's the thing where you get what you asked for and not a bit more.
What was it?
Well, that's the scenario where you'll get exactly what you ask for, but not a bit more.
Yeah.
Like, I need this, this, and this, and you'll get the black and white of just what you asked for. But like, if you're an asshole and you ask me to do this thing, I'm going to be less inclined to accommodate your off the book request.
But if a band's really cool, just good guys are good, just talk, just not. Not an asshole. Not an asshole. Yeah, let's do some cool lights, man.
Yeah,
if not, it's just like,
oh,
let's do some lights. There's a difference, and
for sure.
Again, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Sometimes
it's
I don't know.
It's hard to tell because and it's case by case basis too, and that's the funny thing about it. Like there's no two creative entities on the planet you can treat the same.
Yeah.
And that goes any creative spectrum, like music, back of house, front of house, whatever. Like it really doesn't matter. Visual arts, it literally does not matter. You cannot create or you cannot treat two creative people the same. Because
truly, someone that is just a total a-hole, that's part of their personality. That's why they are as creative as they are. And it's just, and maybe sometimes myself and other people shouldn't judge them as much for that. But then again, it's hard to,
it's
but
really
that
hard.
Is part of what makes that person, and the way they do the exact thing that they're doing, say playing guitar. The way they're playing guitar, I mean, that it's literally built into your personality in a lot of ways. So it's kind of hard to knock it too, but you still can.
Like
I don't know.
The experience I had with so and so was not great. I'm sure they're not a dick all the time, that kind of thing. But I also feel like being a creative person and a professional creative person, it's hard to be cool, quote unquote, all the time because there's just so much going on, and if you don't have people around you that help you take care of those things, like all the weight on your shoulders really hinders a person's sociability when it comes to all of it, like interacting with society in general. Like some people have really good managers or really good whatevers that really help them take stress off of them to be themselves, for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, I've noticed with bigger shows, for bigger productions or something that we're doing out, if it's not, if I don't plan it right and I don't, if everything's coming at me all at once, I'm not as a nice a person or something as I could have been. Yeah. And I've been in situations where I'll talk with someone and I look back, I'm like, I probably could have been nicer. I shouldn't have done that, Yeah. And that is rough. I mean, more like that when, just more aspects are involved, it probably is better to have like a manager or someone on the team that is better suited to do something like that. Because if you have 50 different aspects coming at you at once,
all at once.
I've noticed I've got overwhelmed if I'm doing like stage management, something for a big event or something, and it's essentially I didn't plan properly.
Right.
I didn't know what all was involved or something like that, and just everything comes at once, which is bam, bam, hey, problem. It's just like it affects you, and I'm sure that happens with rock stars or something too, or bigger artists that come in. It has to.
Yeah, for sure.
And so,
but what can you do other than be mindful about it? Like in your shoes, the best thing you can do is be mindful. Like, hey, this is a lot of shit. I might not be the nicest person to talk to right now. So hey, let me be aware of that so I can handle.
Sometimes
things.
It's hard too, though.
It's really hard because you get so caught up in whatever it is you're doing, you forget to be aware of you in that scenario because you're so distinctly aware of literally everything else. It's hard to juggle. It's hard to manage, and when you're good at it, you still fail. The human experience is a trip.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
Generally, it's been fun though.
Yeah, for sure.
The whole human experience has been fun for me so far. I like it.
Yeah, the human experience is good. So let's. I'm gonna ask you this final question, and then we'll jet. Don't me. It's an.
You never know what the final question is gonna be. God. That's when they spring on. What happened to your foot 5 years ago in Vietnam? God. You're like,
what's happening
and
in
then
this
it gets
picture?
Into some scandal.
Oh God. No. Who are some people you would like to see or hear, or be on the podcast at some point in the future? Local people that I could perhaps wrangle.
Okay.
So this is the one you don't have answers for.
This is the one I don't have answers for. Well, you mentioned Ella. I think Ella would be great for it. I mean, she's my girlfriend and all, but she's...
Yeah, now's a really good time to talk nice about her.
I love you. No, okay. Let me think of three.
It could be 1, 2, 3, however many you feel that you can come up with. That's fine.
What? This might take me a second.
That's okay.
I'm gonna do Ella because I'm selfish and she's my girlfriend and
That's
she's
fine.
Cool, but I mean, she actually really good at podcasting.
Well, like I said, if she ever wants to sit in and the three of us do this conversation again, I would be totally okay with that. Let's try to do that.
Oh yeah, cool. I'm trying to think of the three most opposite people I can think of.
Well, let's
you know what I mean?
Yes,
three of the most opposite-minded people on Earth I could think of. I am drawing a blank, man.
This is usually in the conversation where people are like, well, shit, I don't know.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say with Open Court since that's in my ecosystem. Kelly Alkin, she's a bar manager at Open Court. She's from California. She has just a crazy, unique view on life. She has this it's like anytime she's talking to you, she's like, I told him, and she'll like tell
really
you how she
animated.
looked into someone. But if you watch her, she's just like the most customer service nicest person on earth to someone. So she has a really cool, unique view on life. I really look up to her, and not necessarily what I do because we do totally different things, but she's managing a bar and she's really a cool person that has a family, and it's just like that's admirable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Second person, Ella, because it's easy. And man, this is hard. This is a hard question.
This is the hardest question. I think this is legit the hardest question.
Does everyone have this?
Some people have a real hard time.
I'm scrambling, man.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good because 2 is better than none. And if I don't ask that question, I don't know who to have on next week. So, so it works. It works real well for me as long as somebody says at least one thing.
I'm trying to think of someone we know mutually. Do you know Will Johnson?
I don't know if I do or not.
Okay.
I'm better with faces, and I hate that I say that. And this is like an audio format thing.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna look at our mutual friends on Facebook.
Okay, let's do it.
And because then you have some context.
I don't know how big this Venn diagram is, but I'm willing to find out.
I'll go. What was like 500 people? How many friends do you think we have in general?
Oh shit!
Mutual? What'd you guess?
Let's say under 12 and under.
15.
15? Oh, that's close.
Okay,
so
Jason
close.
Moreau Hart.
I know Mr. Ill. I'm trying to get him on the show. Mr. Ill, you have been summoned. I know him pretty well. He and I have been camping together a few times, and we're pretty tight as far as that goes.
That would be a good.
I want to get him on the show
podcast.
with just him and with other people too, because he's a great one to talk to just about literally anything.
John Paul Worley.
Oh my god,
would be an amazing dude to get on this podcast. Cornbread, man. He cracked me up, dude.
I'm trying to get Cornbread on the show. I really am. I've asked him, and he's obliged, but we've yet to sit down and record. So I guess there are a couple other people in that social circle too that I would like to have.
He was one of the most hilarious shows.
Dude, I love watching him play.
Dude, he's fantastic. Two, we got him for this one show. It was like a very, I guess you could say, upscale, ritzy wine drinking growl.
Oh my god!
And so he opened for it, and it was great because at first it was so awkward. But they warmed into him after like 10, 15 minutes.
I've never seen anybody have a bad time if he's on stage.
But at first, it was the most awkward thing you've ever witnessed. But after 10, 15 minutes, he gets up there and is like, you know how he is. It's so fun. Yeah. He's one of the funniest humans. He would be amazing.
I very much enjoy listening to him speak. You never know what's going to come out of his damn mouth. And,
okay, I'm looking at all these. Bill Foster.
The photographer? Yeah, I need to chat with him.
Just because I see his work all the time. I've never sat down and talked with him for.
I've talked to him a couple times out and about, and I think he's taking pictures of me live painting at the concourse and stuff. And then there's another photographer guy that does stuff around town that I need to get. I can't remember his name at the moment. Dang it. But yeah, I want to speak to both of those guys for sure.
Bill Foster would be really cool to get on here. Mm-hmm. But hey, that helped.
Yeah, there we go.
Looking down the Facebook help.
Those are good answers.
I saw the ones I saw there. Like, hey,
Cornbread, Mr. Ill. This is not the first time you've been brought up on this podcast, so you need to get your ass on. Speaking directly to you. And then Cornbread was actually mentioned on my first episode with Preston and Dan. Preston Husk also does a lot of sound and stuff around town. You might know him. And then Daniel Crisp. He's a musician about town, photographer, creative person in general. They were the two guys I had on my first episode. I recorded way back last December and published it, I think, in February.
So what episode is this?
This is episode 20. 20. Yeah.
Nice. Number 20.
Yeah. So this is episode 20. That was episode number 1. In between here and there, both of those gentlemen have been mentioned at least once, and I need to get both of those guys on here. But Dylan, thank you very much. If you will,
a little handshake, man. I appreciate it.
Tell people your socials, where they can find you on the internet, where they can find your music, all that stuff. Go ahead and plug it, and then we'll get on out of here.
Just Google Dillon Bunn and it'll come up.
Is that 1 N, 2 N's for the people listening?
BUNN, like the coffee machines.
Okay.
Dillon Bunn, DILLON BUNN. I'd say YouTube, just a good overview of my stuff. It's pretty random, but if you want me and not my highly specific commercial projects that are under different artist names, Dillon Bunn.
There you go.
So, just a little overview.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That's been episode number 20 of the KAAMP. My name is Thomas Zachary. If you want to support the KAAMP, you can use the Anchor support functions. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. You can recommend the show to people. You can rate it on iTunes. You can do all that jazz. If you want to support the show directly, buy art by me. That way that money can be used for more art supplies and better outfitting my new secret location studio, which is my basement, for better recording audio things for you guys. So Thank you very much for listening. Go buy art. Go support the podcast. Share it, rate it, review it. Do whatever the hell you're supposed to do for the algorithms on the internet. Once again, my name is Thomas Zachary. This is KAAMP, and thank y'all very, very much.
Woo!